You are listening to a Slaffterhouse production.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of Watchin. I am your host, Max Zell, along with my co-host,
Wilson T. Kirk.
That's right, you heard it here, Wilson T. Cuck. And this week we are watching the most polarizing film of last year. Wilson, what was that?
Definitely Moonlight.
That's right, the real Best Picture, La La Land. Now, as per usual, we will be watching this film as we record this podcast, and you can watch along with us. So if you feel like popping in your Blu-Ray copy of La La Land, we are time-coded at 00:00:00 out of 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 48 seconds. And we will be hitting play in 3, 2, 1.
Now.
All right, here we go. We see the Summit logo. Looks all classy and old school.
Yeah, the amazing throwback logo that they made for these.
So something that director Damien Chazelle did that was pretty cute, I thought, is that he opens the film, presented in CinemaScope. He gives you kind of this little hint or allusion to an older style of film watching before it shows just where technology has progressed to this point. And, of course, we open with the now iconic Another Day of Sun. It's iconic. How many times have it been parodied already? Promposals, I believe they're called.
It opened the Oscars.
It opened the Oscars. They've done this bit at all the shows. Actually, I thought the Oscars were opened by Justin Timberlake. I think you're thinking of like the Globes, maybe.
Yeah, it was one of them.
It was one of them.
Was it the No, it wouldn't have been the Grammys.
So, first, let me explain why it's called the most polarizing film of last year. This film was nominated for so many Oscars, and it won the most of any last year. But there are a lot of people that kind of want to push back against this film and levy some criticisms at it that I just don't understand. Whether it's the chemistry of the two stars, or some people think there's like a white savior narrative for some reason. I disagree with virtually every criticism I've heard for this film, other than our music buddy John, who just kind of criticized some of the mixing, and that's so out of our ballpark that I can't really comment on that. I totally respect someone that's been in like a sound, music production setting and understands how that works better than I ever could. On a story level, on a creative level, on a performance level, I think this film's pretty close to perfect, though. And if only to have another excuse to watch this film, I'm here to defend the most acclaimed film of last year. Wilson.
Yes.
Do you like this movie?
I absolutely love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies in the last few years, at least.
But is it as good as Too Late?
It's a little bit better than Too Late, yes.
Okay. Now, for those of you that don't listen to our other show here on the Slaffterhouse Podcast Network, our colleague Josh Ducky Duclos liked La La Land, put it somewhere in his top 15, but professes that Too Late might be the cinematic masterpiece we all deserve.
The best film since Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, I believe is what he said.
Right. What he also didn't say, though, was that he's only seen about 7 films since 2011.
I wish that was the case. He's seen everything.
He sees everything and just doesn't understand anything. That'll be his epitaph someday. Hopefully soon. So as we're sitting here, we're being shown in CinemaScope, in Technicolor. We're seeing the broad capabilities of... Oh, my dog is eating at the microphone. That's not good. The capabilities of what a camera can capture. That most films just ignore these days, is you see vibrant primary colors everywhere. Reds and blues and yellows.
And L.A. traffic.
Now, before we go any further, as this band in the back of the truck starts playing, we should mention that Wilson and I are watching this film on mute.
Yep.
The best way to watch a musical, I say.
Yeah, who needs the music?
Who needs the music? Who needs the songs, the words?
So basically, we're looking at this with a whole different light because we won't be blinded by the amazing music. So maybe we'll catch something that we didn't see before.
Now,
who knows?
This is my, I believe, 6th time watching it. I saw it, I want to say 5 times in theaters. 3 times in that first week, and then a couple times after, because I kept getting dragged back and back to the cinema by friends. I'm not one of those weirdos that needs to see a film 10 times. I'm happy going to see it once and then buying the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But I really, really enjoyed La La Land and wanted to catch it as many times in the ArcLight Cinerama Dome, which feels like the exact theater this film was made to be screened in.
It's just a Cinema Dome, but yeah.
It's just the Cinema Dome. What'd I call it?
Cinerama Dome.
It isn't the Cinerama Dome?
No, I believe it's just the Cinema Dome.
Well, agree to disagree. I have fact on my side. And
I don't think you do.
as we're getting to this really beautifully choreographed shot of all these people on tops of their cars. I don't know if you've ever been on the 110. Anytime you got to take someone back from LAX to, get back to the city, it's a heck of an annoying drive. And one of the first, great jokes in this film is, another day of sun, and then it just slow title card comes up, winter. I heard Wilson snap. What's wrong?
It is the Cinerama Dome.
Oh my! It's almost like I know stuff.
I could have sworn it was the Cinema Dome.
And now we're getting our first major character introduction. Ryan Gosling as... You remember his name, right?
Ryan Gosling.
No, he's playing Seb. Come on, Sebastian, Seb.
Yeah.
He has a whole, spoiler alert, a whole bar of entry named
Seb
after
from
him.
Seb's, yeah. I knew his name was Sebastian. I'm playing dumb, y'all.
Wilson, much like Andy Kaufman, sticks to the act, no matter the circumstance. Even when we're not recording, he's still playing dumb. Now we get introduced to Emma Stone's character.
Who just so happens to be sitting in front of him.
Well, that's part of the poetry of this movie. It's a heightened sense of reality. It's, the title works on a few levels. I'm not the first person to obviously point that out. There's a reason it's called La La Land. It's a fantasy film that takes place in a world where a bunch of grown-up man-children are living in a fantasy land still. We're seeing the story of a 35-year-old man who still thinks he can make jazz popular again to the masses. And we see a woman in her late 20s who hasn't gotten that big break yet, who's still just dreaming, as we get the first visual representation of that with this, generic unnamed celebrity showing up in the coffee shop on the Warner lot. All you see is Emma's face, just reacting. There's a little bit of jealousy there. There's a little bit of, awestruck, starstruck. But there's also just that kind of frustration.
Yeah. The look I wake up to every morning in the mirror.
Yeah. Oh, boy. So, Wilson, you care to talk more about your inadequacies, or?
No, I think that's it. I'll just pepper them in from here and there.
Okay. So, La La Land has many nice touches. Emma Stone playing a barista. I don't know if you know this, but in L.A., almost every waitress and barista is also an actress. You wouldn't believe it. And nice small touches, mise en scène, if you will. If you look at her phone, it's a cracked screen. If you look at the people that are sitting on the, in that coffee shop, they're people in costume.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, using the, the use of primary colors. We got Emma Stone in a blue jacket against a blue wall with her red hair.
Yeah, it's all blue and orange. This entire shot.
And, when people talk about why Emma Stone was nominated for an Oscar, let alone eventually winning it, a lot of people point to this scene as she's, on the phone during an audition, as she goes through such a range of emotion. As she goes from happy to sad to, disbelief. And then as that guy walks up to the door any second now and ruins the audition, just to watch her snap out of it. It's almost like she can act or something.
Yeah, she's like, that's a face that'll make you cry.
Yeah. Now, Emma Stone's another one of those polarizing people. There are some people who think she's the most adorable, talented, lovely actresses out there, and then there are some that just don't get her. Now, there's nothing invalid about that. You don't have to agree with everyone.
But
and if you don't appreciate
amazing.
her, but she is amazing. And if you don't appreciate her work or her appearance or everything, if that's enough to sway you away from appreciating her work or the effort she puts into her performances, I mean, whatever. I pity you because you're missing out some pretty cool stuff between this and Easy A and
The Amazing
cool
Spider-Man.
Well, maybe not that, but I would recommend a different superhero film of a sort, Paper Man, which she has a really great role in when she was young.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's another film no one talks about, but I think's pretty good.
Yeah, that movie's great.
Now, once again, visual storytelling. We see her walking down that hallway of all these other wannabes in their white shirts with their red hair, and you see her in the elevator with the same types. We're still seeing a lot of blue. And it's just cool because it's that idea. You don't have to have her say why aren't I getting that opportunity? Why not me? I'm special. Because she's looking around and seeing actual proof that she's a
The
dime a
exact
dozen.
same.
She's the exact same as everyone else.
Nothing special about her.
Or at least that's what she thinks right now. That's the assumption. That's her blue period. And now as she's in this, pink light, this pink bathroom with the green tiling, you kind of get this other side to her. You kind of see her when she isn't under that pressure. She can just be herself. She's metaphorically and literally nude to the world as she's wrapped in nothing but a towel.
Yep.
As she yearns to be discovered. And of course, here come, her hot roommates, I think also wearing primary colors. Huge use of primary colors in these opening scenes. Yeah. I guess there's secondary colors too.
Yeah, there's 4 different dresses, so obviously they aren't all primaries.
But the point is, I don't know if it's just because they wanted to use Technicolor or just because there's something visually going on. If you have a red, a yellow, a blue, a green, like your basic crayon set if you go to a restaurant with like a kid's menu to draw on.
I think that they just love color. They just wanted to show this colorful world that has a dark side to it.
Now let me ask you.
It's LA. Like on the surface, it's bright, it's colorful, it's fun, but you can see the seediness once you look a little bit deeper into it.
This is definitely a film about a couple of people who may or may not have been sold a false bill of goods when they went to chase their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
They have this idea of what Hollywood is. And even right now, as we see Emma's roommate dressed up, like a classic femme fatale.
Audrey Hepburn-esque.
Sure, Audrey Hepburn-esque.
Audrey, not Aubrey.
What'd I say?
No, I said Aubrey. I was correcting myself.
Good job. And sure, why not? What was I saying? You totally just derailed me with your...
I don't know.
Inaccuracies.
She was femme fatale. Dressed up.
Oh, so anyway, you have this person, huge reminders everywhere of what she wants. The gigantic, poster on the wall. Mm-hmm. Everywhere she goes, she sees famous people at her work. She sees these roommates who, at first glance, you would think a casting director might go after way before you would Emma Stone. And there's something obvious about Emma Stone. Maybe it's personality, maybe it's talent, maybe it's something else. But there's a reason we know her by name, and she's the lead of this film. And these other 3 are, glorified background dancers. Because all 3 of those roommates are stunning women. And are probably going to make some, older producers very happy someday.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they have their own La La Land. They'll end up winning something, a role someday. But, it's kind of funny that you see her in this context where she's living with 3 other people who all probably have that same dream, who all want to go to that same party and get noticed. And she doesn't end up really getting noticed. She just kind of gains confidence, creates opportunities for herself, and then gets noticed. If there's one thing this movie's kind of teaching you, you can stand in the middle of the room at the party and hope someone starts a conversation with you, or you can start the conversation. She twice starts conversation with Gosling, not because he can advance her career, but because she's just trying something different. Mm-hmm. And because she invested in him emotionally, he invested in her emotionally. They literally have a vested interest in each other's successes. And because of that, because they found, a partner, found friendship, found whatever, this isn't a love story. It's a friendship story as far as I'm concerned. And to see Gosling support this woman, as they drive each other nuts because they can't always be there for each other. But to see her eventually get to a place where she can put on that one-woman show, where, of course, no one shows up. And I got distracted because the little classic neon signs montage shows every one of my regular places, and Wilson's regular places.
Yeah, some amazing spots like Patty's.
Well, Patty's and Musso's and all that. When I first saw this movie, the most reassuring part of watching La La Land is that, this place goes to all the places I like to take girls out on dates, so I feel pretty good about myself. But it's that she gets into that theater, puts on the one-woman show, and because she took that chance, she earns attention. She doesn't just stand there and wait for it.
She keeps going for it.
She keeps going for it, which she wasn't before she met Gosling. So, to see her in this bathroom away from everyone else in the party, she's starting to realize it. She's literally saying, is someone in the crowd the only thing you really see? Is she someone in a crowd? Is she an extra or is she a star? Wilson?
Well, she's a star in my eyes, obviously.
Yeah, this film ended up grossing, close to $500 million worldwide off of a budget of, I want to say, like $30 million. Film, obviously, I would say surpassed any expectations, crushed Chazelle's previous film Whiplash out of the box office waters.
Yeah, his other amazing film.
Yeah, I mean it's a tragedy. This isn't Emma Stone's highest grossing film because those awful, amazing Spider-Man films exist. But I mean, this must be Gosling's highest grossing film, right? Unless Notebook killed it, and I don't know about it.
Yeah, Notebook. I don't know if it killed at box office.
No, there's no way.
But DVD sales alone, bro.
Well, sure.
That movie had to have gone everywhere. All them ladies love it.
Yeah, I mean, even I own it, and I'm yeah, whatever. So we see this really kind of, interesting slow motion shot as she's making her way through the party, and what you're literally seeing are women standing in the room waiting to be seen, and then you see these other women. I think those are the roommates, aren't they? Being twirled around, dancing. I don't think I noticed that the first few times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the choreography in this film, what do you think about it, Wilson?
I mean, this scene especially, the party scene, where there's just so many dancers and
a lot of moving parts, all one shot.
Yeah, they're spinning around in the pool. Obviously still in the water because they wouldn't do this bokeh effect on purpose. Mm-hmm. That's actual droplets on the lens, I'm guessing. Until we get to hear it, they had to continue it.
With the fireworks shot. Now, of course, the fun gag about how awful LA parking is, with the dumb archaic rules about where and when you can park, on what days, at what times.
Yeah, any city. Any city. Yes. There's always parking rules.
The point is, yes, it's a big city, but she's not from a big city.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably something ingrained in her for the first 20 years of her life before she came out to LA that still finds that very unfair.
No, nobody finds that unfair. They just understand the rules.
I've almost been, ticketed there off of Franklin, really close to the 101 Cafe that was in Swingers.
That's that storage place under the freeway. I never noticed that spot.
That is with the Charlie Chaplin mural on the, was that Transformer box?
Yeah, that's a...
Now, here's a really cool mural wall that's been used in such Hollywood classic films as Hollywood Cop 2. Probably some others.
Well, but, La La Land.
Gorgeous shot. Emma Stone walking. Camera moves with her, so she's always in the left third of the frame as we see what she sees for the first time.
She gets framed by red light.
Yeah. And she does. She's literally, profiled by the red light. This glow. She's in this blue dress and sad until this red light comes, and that's the introduction to, Gosling. Mm-hmm. This literal warmth coming over her, cold front. This movie knows what it's doing.
I believe we can hear him playing right now.
We definitely hear Mia and Sebastian's theme at this point, I believe.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Once again, we're watching on mute. The only way to watch La La Land as she enters Lipton's. And, one of the great things this film did marketing-wise, first of all, the trailers for this film were gorgeous. They were, like tone poems or something. But in the trailer, we see something from the epilogue. And when we see this scene happen here, we assume that's when that trailer scene happens, where they just start making out. Like, this is such like a weird fantasy film where they can just, stumble upon each other in a bar and just fall in love immediately.
Yeah.
So when, when the reveal happens that he just, totally rebuffs her and just, if anything, shoulder checks her?
Yeah.
It's shocking in the theater if you paid attention to trailers.
I would say it's just about abusive.
And that's the thing is, this is not a functional relationship.
No, not from the beginning it wasn't.
As we're being reminded right now, their literal first contact
was him flipping her off.
Well, she flipping him off, him honking at her.
Yeah.
And, there's this hint, not even a hint, there's an outright suggestion they recognize each other from that moment as they're done by the non-existent Van Beek, just a out-of-use building across the street from the Retro Dairy Mart that I drive past on Magnolia all the time. I contemplate sitting there, buying a cup of coffee and staring at the Van Beek myself.
Yeah, that mural's not there, though.
Kind of is. It's just not the...
It's not that mural.
Right. It's different blocking or whatever, but it's not right there. It's like literally two buildings down. They're just framing it weird. I want to buy the Van Beek someday and open a Samba Tapas place there and invite Gosling to perform any jazz song he wants.
Why wouldn't we open up Seb's? If we're going to do that, why would we do a Samba Tapas instead of Seb's?
I would call it Wils's Samba Tapas.
Just Will's. No, that doesn't sound right either.
No. Kirk's.
Will. Just call it Whiskeyed.
Nah, that name's stupid.
Yeah, you're stupid.
We get this fun scene with Gosling and his sister who never comes back, where she kind of puts, his fantasy land in check. He hasn't even unpacked yet. He's been living there a year. And we're talking our music buddy, John. He lived in L.A. for a little over a year before he moved home, and he never unpacked. You know, there are boxes he just never unpacked. Every time I go to visit him, it looked just like this apartment.
He didn't want to move in.
He didn't want to move in.
He wasn't sure of his dreams yet.
In Gosling's case, I don't want to unpack till I have my bar. In John's case, he said, I didn't want to unpack till I know for sure. And, you know, it ended up not working for him. He's not a huge fan of La La Land, by the way, and he claims it's for the musical reasons, but I think there's something about this story that deeply resonates with him in a way that makes him uncomfortable. Because he's like if Emma Stone didn't have Gosling to convince him to stay.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the whole scene where he's sitting in his apartment and you see like all this stuff is unpacked, or it's not unpacked.
Still packed.
It's still packed. And this stool, this freaking stool.
You know, I don't need that. What if I told you, you know, this guy pissed on her? Well, that's not funny, but did he? You know, there's some fun gags here. It's good character building. You see who he is around, you know, the familiar people. Because when he's around strangers, he's a dick. Around his sister, I mean, he's just totally beta. I mean, he's saying stuff, he's protesting, and she just doesn't care.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's trying to set him up with a girl right now.
Right, and he's saying that's not his world.
And he doesn't need a girl. He doesn't want the romance like that. Like that's not romantic. Or she's saying that's not romantic because of the unpaid bills, and he's trying to follow his dreams no matter what.
He looks at the backside of a envelope that says past due for some reason.
She wrote the number on that.
Oh, that's right. That's still nice storytelling then.
Yeah.
But that is a really great line as she's walking out the door. He goes, I'm going to change the locks. And she goes, you can't afford it. Yeah, that's so LA. There's a lot of people here that like have homes and can't afford to live there.
Mm-hmm.
But they're chasing their dreams. This film resonated with me in a lot of ways. I see a lot of parallels, you know, between my life in this film, my friends' lives in this film. This is a film for transplants, for people that came to LA pursuing something. And, you know, some of the friends I have that didn't enjoy this film, future podcast guest, Matt, was not a huge fan of this film. He just, on a very profound level, could not relate to it. And I think it's because, one, he doesn't really much living in LA. Mm-hmm. Doesn't like it. And, you know, we can talk to him about that more later on, but eventually. But, you know, other friends I had, you know, a female friend of mine who is an actress or, you know, an aspiring actress who's been out here almost as long as Emma Stone has, doesn't find this movie particularly charming because she's been waiting for someone to attend her one-woman show. Now, I'd argue she needs to have that one-woman show first and get that spotlight before someone notices her.
Mm-hmm.
But, and by the way, I'm not even speaking about one person. There's a few women I know that.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that are like that.
Where it's like, they've been Emma Stone for all these years, going to auditions, not one callback.
And that's because they kind of misinterpret what this movie is really saying.
And that's my argument.
Yeah, you got to get out there. You got to do the work. You got to hustle your way to that spot. You got to put together the one-woman show. You can't just go to the same auditions over and over. You have to diversify your abilities.
Well, create the opportunities that did not exist before.
Yeah.
This talent recruiter or whoever it was, casting director or producer, would not have found Emma's character, you know, at all in this film by being the girl with the coffee stain at the audition. That's ridiculous. Yeah. But by having a one-woman show, even if nobody shows up but one person, even if her boyfriend doesn't show up, a casting director did.
Yeah, there's 5 people in the audience.
Right, because there are people whose entire jobs are to go to these types of things.
Yeah.
You know, if you've ever been an intern for like a producer or something, they just make you read scripts all day. Hopefully you find a decent one. And you make someone's career, you make someone's life. You know, I've been in that position where I have to read scripts. I'm in the position where I've hoped people read my scripts. You know, it's a weird, it's kind of like a lottery, but, you know, idea is cream of the crop, talent rises to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we kind of get that first, you know, fantasy sequence of Gosling on the piano, playing this beautiful, you know, he starts out with the Christmas music, he slowly transitions to the song he wants to play. You know, famously, Gosling, you know, underwent strenuous training to learn how to play piano for this role.
When they could have just used someone else's hands.
They could have used body doubles, but they wanted to do those one-shots. And, you know, my only complaint about this scene is that Gosling wears a watch on his right hand for the entirety of this film. I think only a socialist loser.
Or a left-handed person.
I'm left-handed. I wear my watch on my left side because the buttons to wind stuff are always on the left side. Yeah. You don't want to reach over the watch. It's so...
But when you're riding, doesn't it, like, rub on stuff? Like, that's why I've never liked watches. Cause...
Look, the button's here.
Well, you're showing me a Fitbit first off. You're not like showing me like
actually,
a heavy watch.
Watches the wines are on the right side.
Yeah,
the idea is
I do understand that.
Okay, so maybe Gosling's left-handed, and I should be doing it differently.
Yeah, when you're right-handed, you wear it the hand you draw with, you wear your watch on the opposite hand, so it's not rubbing on the table when you're writing and stuff.
The fact is, no one draws or writes anymore because it's the digital era. Everyone.
Well, I don't want my watch scraping up my iPad.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't argue that, can you?
I don't own an iPad. I can't.
Well, yeah, me either. Someone buy me an iPad so I can not scrape it up.
So, we have Gosling just going to town on this, what is this, me and Sebastian's theme at this point also? As we're getting to the point now where the two plots converge.
The different version of it, yeah.
Stone and Gosling's two plots. I also love the gag that Gosling tips himself at the beginning to make it like someone appreciates his work, so hopefully more people come by, drop $1 in there.
Well, yeah, you're sitting here.
You don't want an empty fishbowl in front of you.
Well, he goes into his own fantasy. Well,
first of all, this shot I love so much of just him getting up, the lights, coming back.
Yeah, that's
and
what
you
I
see
was
the
talk
reality.
about.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry, Wills.
No, well, you wanted to talk about the fishbowl, so let's talk about the fishbowl.
Let's talk about the fishbowl.
Anyone that has a fishbowl tip system will always put cash in there. That's just the way it works. So that's not just him doing that. That's just
I used to
normal
put
people.
Money in my fishbowl all the time. My sister complained, saying I was going to kill her beta fish.
As for I love, because he goes into his own fantasy world when he's playing the music he wants to play. Yeah. He gets that spotlight on him. It's his world now. Nobody else around him matters. They're just in dark until he stops, and then the lights come up, and you see nobody's paying attention. Nobody cares what he's actually playing.
No one does. And you have an amazing cameo from J.K. Simmons. Not exactly fresh off his Oscar win, but relatively fresh off his Oscar win for Chazelle's previous film.
J.K. Simmons, so it doesn't matter because he's J.K. Simmons.
He's fresh off that
being J.K. Simmons.
Farmers Insurance commercial.
Dude, yeah, I'm not even gonna hate on that. Like,
I love
one of the highest paid commercial actors there are. Yeah.
I mean, who's the better or more talented, salesman? Whatever. TV salesman. Are we going with J.K. Simmons or are we going with Michael Jordan? Who would you rather have back you up in a game of one-on-one?
Well, are we like J.K. Simmons, like Justice League J.K. Simmons?
Yeah, whatever.
Like
ripped J.K. Simmons? Yeah, he'd back me up on the yard. Once again, amazing use of colors. All these walls,
the green and red now.
The green, the red. She's wearing the red, white, and blue. That seems to be kind of her, her color palette for the movie.
Well, it works with her skin, obviously.
And before we continue, because we just missed the one and only scene in the film, I believe. Actually, until the end, where we have Gwen Stacy and J. Jonah Jameson in the same room. Amazing Spider-Man couldn't do that. There's the classic Hollywood shot of a woman, diving into a pool, following her across it, and then her just leaving, never to come back. Just total extra.
Just another person in the crowd.
Body. Another one in the crowd. Now, this is a great scene. Carlo, the writer, I'm pretty sure he's the guy that, wrote Pan. He's an actual screenwriter. And, to hear this guy, that really pretentious crap. They say I'm great at world building. You meet that guy a lot in this town. I may be that guy.
World building people are the worst.
Yeah. And that's how he hits on someone, telling everyone what people love about his writing skills. Ugh, what a dick.
For sure. Oh, man.
The reveal of the flock of seagulls or whatever. As Emma, once again, this one shot of her just going to the bar, hearing music, turning around. She sees something. Mm-hmm. And the slow reveal of who's the keyboardist.
It's him.
She doesn't even realize it's him until she gets closer. She just thought it was ironic or whatever, this dumb 80s band.
It's we just have this 80s cover band here. And then you see him in this red jacket with the zoot suit pants.
Well, here's the thing. Let's talk about costume design for a sec, because this is an obvious homage to James Dean in was a Rebel Without a Cause, the red jacket, white shirt thing. Mm-hmm. I know he's not wearing the blue pants, but this is James Dean. He's supposed to be the rebel. Obviously later on they're watching, Rebel in the at the what theater is that? The Rialto. And the costume design in general in this film is amazing. But to see that Gosling, even when he's, not doing something on his own terms, playing for money, he's still in his mind, he's the rebel. And he's dressed like Dean.
He's
from Futurama.
He's always better than the gig that he has.
Yeah.
No matter if it's playing Christmas music in some bar or playing 80s tunes on a guitar, he's always better than what he's doing.
Now, this is the moment Gosling stops hating Emma Stone's character, because he remembers her from restaurant when he stiffs her, and he remembers her from the traffic.
When he basically ran her over.
Yeah.
In
but
both
here,
situations.
just watching her dance is enough to fall in love with her. And I challenge any, straight-blooded man or lesbian to, not fall in love. This is just charming. She's not, showing legs or anything. She's just being an attractive personality.
She's just being goofy and
She's
fun.
being goofy and fun and being vulnerable even. Because someone could say, that's lame. If Wilson were at that party, he'd
I would say that's lame.
He would. And, there are these beautiful women in bathing suits, and she's the only one that's, truly covered up all the way. I mean, she's showing her arms. But in Hollywood, that's, wearing a parka.
She's wearing a nice dress.
She's wearing a nice dress, a sundress. But everyone else, in their bathing suits.
This summer party.
She's not showing cleavage, She's not trying to get attention here. She's just taking it in.
Kurt?
As Gosling's admitting he was a jerk. Once again, taking initiative. They actually want to talk to each other now.
Mm-hmm.
They've both been kind of humbled a bit by this point. I mean, for years at this point for both of them. But what they did not realize is how much they needed each other in each other's lives at this moment in time. One thing people don't get, and that's kind of what the whole time jump illustrates at the end of this film, is that this film is not about some epic romance. Their status as a couple lasts less than a year, if anything, 6 months maybe. I mean, the whole the majority of the film is 1 year.
Yeah.
And this is springtime already. They met in the winter, And Wilson's pouring himself a drink. So if you hear that pour, that's what that is. So to see a relationship, if you take any relationship you've been in, you can be in a relationship for 5 years. And you can tell that story, the 5-year relationship. And you can, stretch it out and you can make it short. Doesn't matter. Film is a weird language because in the course of a few months, by making the film exclusively about that relationship, it feels like this long, grand romance.
Yes.
But that time jump at the end puts things in perspective. 5 years later, this is nothing in comparison to those 5 years.
Yeah, this is a bump in the road. And that's why a lot of people that have criticisms about this movie is oh, they should have gotten together at the end. They should have gotten together at the end. But when you really think about it, this is a short relationship in most situations.
This film is not a love letter to the love of your life. It's a love letter to the love at the time.
The one who helped you out when you needed help.
Was a friend to you when you needed it.
Yeah.
And, if there's one thing this film has helped me do, it's forgive my exes for any issues, or any grudges I may have still had.
Not
it
mine.
puts things into, you still have the stab wounds to contend with, so that's a different situation. But when you put things into perspective of you aren't the person you are today without the people that were in your past, even if they're not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the reminders of them when you look in a mirror, when you look at your life, when you take inventory of what you have. And you might still have some of those souvenirs. In their particular case, it's that Gosling will walk past her billboards at the end of the film. There's that reminder of, well, that's that woman that, told me Seb's was the right way to go. And in her case, anytime she hears jazz, she probably thinks, there was this jazz musician that told me I shouldn't give up on my dream. And look where I am now.
I like to believe they still remember each other's names.
Sure. Of course they do. But their dream was never to be in a relationship together.
No.
Her dream is to be an actress, a superstar, like the woman who walks into the, whatever coffee shop.
Yes.
His dream is just to play his kind of jazz. Insulated little world. And when people talk about the white savior crap, he's trying to tell a black man what jazz is. No. He never even espouses those views to a black person, let alone John Legend. Legend already knows what Gosling thinks and then sets the record straight on him about traditionalism versus, trailblazing.
Poppiness.
And Gosling isn't, telling him you're wrong. He just kind of accepts it. And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
50 years from now, we'll look back at Legend the same way we look back now at some of those jazz musicians that he idolizes, that Gosling idolizes.
I see it more as a jazz expert talking about jazz to someone else that might not know as much about jazz as he does. Obviously, him and Legend both know a lot about jazz in this movie.
But at no point is Legend portrayed as knowing less,
No, not at all.
This isn't a dumb, patronizing film where Gosling's the true, one and only. He just wants to live in his own little world. That's his thing. It's not that he wants to save jazz. It's that he wants to retreat to it.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. He wants to live in a little bar, a dark room with artifacts from the past and just live in that world.
Hey, man. Sounds like a good time.
He likes to watch classic movies. He doesn't seem to have much knowledge of today, this world, or social graces even. When he tracks her down to the the studio in the next, I think it's the next scene. And he's just, talking to that AD about, oh, you're filming a movie here? They film in my neighborhood all the time. I know how to behave on set, as he's talking loud while people are trying to film. Like, it's funny. He's just in his own little world. He doesn't really have much consideration for anything else at this point, whether it's romance, whether it's, paying bills, whether it's, even giving the time of day to his sister. Mm-hmm. But she helps him warm up a little bit. If there's one thing this film's ultimately about, as we kind of get to like the signature dance sequence of this film, in many people's eyes, I would imagine, the tap dancing sequence. Our good friend Bron Charlson, writer for the set for our website of miceandmax.com. I saw this film with him. It was my third time seeing it at the time. He had not seen it yet. And when this scene starts of the tap dancing, he just started crying. I'm like, why? What are you doing? And he goes, it's just delightful to see this in a movie. I mean, he was so burnt out on like dumb action films and dumb superhero movies.
You would never think that you would see this type of classic dance sequence in a movie in today's world. Like, this is just a straight up classic musical. Like, Fred Astaire would be dancing this dance.
But on that note, when people say, well, it's not even as good as Fred Astaire, and things like that, where their music, their singing voices aren't as good, it's like, that's not the point. They are literally B+ players, or C+ players even, trying to become A+.
Yeah.
It's kind of appropriate that he isn't the best singer or dancer, because that's not who he is in this film. He's a jazz musician.
Plus, he's Ryan Gosling, so he could do whatever the hell he wants, because he's Ryan Gosling.
Well, sure. But, like, it's still a charming dance. It's more human. It's more personal. Mm-hmm. Fred Astaire is the greatest of all time.
Yes.
And when you go to see his movies, that's what you're going to see. This movie's about an emotional story about two people connecting. And this is how they're connecting, is through dance, through language. It doesn't have to be perfect. By the way, neither is their communication in this film. It never is. They're not dancing exactly the same. Their arms are moving differently at different times. They're not on the same cue. The way they sing is more conversational. I mean, the idea is there's a few brief moments here where they do click, when they do the famous, arms out, facing each other, the poster shot.
Like, they're not always on cue, but when they hit the big beats, they like hit it.
They're almost dancing individually at this point. They're not like near each other.
They're doing the same dance, but it almost seems like they're offbeat.
Right. And when there's little,
and that's on purpose, obviously. Like, that's not.
It feels more natural.
Yeah.
And when you have scenes, moments later on when she starts giggling during City of Stars, things like that, where it's like, it feels so real, and whether it is or not, whether it's an outtake they leave in because it's just like the winner of, the winning take. Like, little things like that are the details you remember.
It's humanizing.
They
They aren't these perfect musical stars.
And they're not perfect. You understand why these people are losers in the vision of Hollywood. Gosling is not a 17-year-old Canadian boy, who likes to drum on like buckets and rap and pee in buckets, other buckets. And Emma is not like the obvious, show stealer. She walks into a room, everyone's staring type person. You have to let her dance and sing and say her thing.
She won't get noticed until she is herself.
Becomes noticeable.
Yeah. She has to notice herself before she can be noticed.
And then other little touches, by the way, like Gosling saying, nah, I'm parked right over there, and lets her go away first, and then he walks all the way down the hill.
Yeah, he just wanted to spend a little time.
Like, I have stories like that. I know you do, Wilson, where like you just want an excuse to hang out with someone a little bit longer, and you kind of go out of your own way.
Usually just get lost, but
I've been that emergency call. Wilson calls me, I'm lost in Griffith Park, man.
Yeah.
I took a bad trip. Someone just said it was, tobacco, but I think there might have been something else in there.
I don't do drugs.
Some sticky icky.
Sticky.
Is that what they call it?
I don't even know. They don't.
No? So, as we see Gosling walking back down the hill, it's a charming scene, and it's the first kind of reveal of a romantic...
right by the valet booth.
Oh, literally across from the house, because he probably got there first to start practicing. And the only thing that's not plausible is how there's no other cars on the street at this point. If you've been to L.A. nighttime anywhere in this town, there's never parking. You got to get there at like 4:25 before people get home from work.
I don't know. This is a rich neighborhood, so they might not be allowed to park on the street.
But this is also a town where you see like Maserati street parked. It's a weird town.
Yeah, that's in like Beverly Hills, though. Yeah.
Once again, primary colors. We see the reds and the blues. And we see her literally walking between the red car and the blue wall as if like, it's a transition for her. And of course she walks into her,
She walks from this fantasy studio world into her real life job. Like, it's fantasy to real world, just like that.
And, we get, I guess, Damien Chazelle's sick burn on people who like gluten-free stuff. Yeah, aren't these people the worst? They have dietary habits that may or may not be manufactured by lifestyle magazines they've read. Now, Gosling, as you know, just looking through a window before popping in,
Yeah.
he's become such a good physical comedian these last few years.
Oh, he really is.
And-
And let's talk about Nice Guys.
Well, first, let's say, for a dude that made his career off of, like, first, I mean, Mickey Mouse Club, sure, but, like,
Yes.
The Notebook was what he was known for, probably to most people, to the indie film crowd drive, obviously, masterpiece. Not exactly
Amazing.
hilarious roles.
No, I mean, he has like, he barely talks in that movie.
Yeah, and for but he's still just as effective. Kuleshov effect. They'll teach you in film school. If you had the same neutral face, and you just it's just the tone of everything else around him, you'll feel for him, no matter what it is. He doesn't have to tell you, "I'm happy, I'm sad." You just know because you see everything around him.
That's why I never smile.
So Wilson never smiles unless he's kicking puppies.
No, don't say that.
I only speak the truth. Wilson T. Cuck kicks puppies and loves the sticky icky. So we have Gosling in 2016 really breaking out as perhaps the best physical comedian of the year. First with The Nice Guys, then this. If there's one thing he's great at, it's the double take look behind.
Yes.
That dude, between Nice Guys and this movie, there's a scene in the Rialto later where he just looks over his shoulder and it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
He's not like falling. No one's kicking him in the groin. He didn't say anything ridiculous. He's just
the little things make a part.
It's body language. It's physical communication. It's expressing with your face. It's too bad he wants to be a jazz musician because I bet he'd be a really good physical comedian in this world.
Oh man, can you imagine him being like a Chaplin-esque character? I bet he could pull that off like super good.
I'd love to watch a film with him and a kid. Maybe a gay dad's movie with him and Eugenio Derbez.
Gay dads. Him and Eugenio together?
Yeah. The two of them raising like a little girl together. Just being like two chaplains.
Double the Chaplin?
Yeah.
But them with their pointed out feet.
That might be a little bit of a
walking.
tease for our next podcast, by the way.
Yeah, we'll probably be talking about Eugenio.
Yeah. So we get this, little nugget where she mentions, I grew up in Boulder City, Nevada, across the street from the library, and my aunt would take me. And these are little things that are planting seeds that come up the rest of the film. Where, one, the audition, the trailer song audition, it's a story about her aunt, how influential this aunt has been in her life. Not her parents, but this aunt who just, would come to town sometimes and bring these, not delusions or hallucinations, but visions of or dreams of grandeur, of stardom, of leaving this small town for something greater. And it's clearly like her biggest shaping influence. And you can tell he's a good listener because he literally remembers this information for later. That he remembers, you lived house across the street from the library. He literally goes and Googles it later. And that's such a fun little detail, which is how do you know? It's telling to their communication as a couple that she just doesn't bring it up again, apparently, the rest of their relationship. Or they never even plot, maybe you want to come visit me at home.
Yes.
And now they're at the Warner Brothers lot. I think I see Gotham City.
Yeah, this empty back lot is just beautiful with the hill in the background.
First time I went to visit Warner Brothers, I was about 200 pounds heavier. And I didn't really like walking too much. So I claimed to have had a knee injury and required a golf cart to take me back to the parking garage. And, of course, I paid the driver about, an Andrew Jackson, if you get what I'm saying. I'm not going to name the driver. So I don't know his name. I don't want to get him fired if he still works there. And I don't want to get myself banned from Warner Brothers.
It was Joey Fatone.
It was Joey Fatone, who now works as a security guard at Warner Brothers. Drove me around, showed me the set at night, which was weird because I could barely see anything, but it was fun. That's a fun little first Warner experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now they're walking, what was that, straight to the gate where Blazing Saddles filmed,
Yeah, they're walking. No, this is off to the side a little bit.
Is that the other side? Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's the rear entry where I had to drop off my buddy.
Yeah,
for his
on the
extras gig.
I think on the other side of these sound stages is the main drive.
Yeah. I totally lost my train of thought. I was talking about before all the new things that kept popping up on screen.
It really doesn't matter.
Well, Gosling wants to, and we'll get to it. This is a 2-hour movie. Gosling takes Emma Stone to a jazz club, and he goes, "What do you mean you don't like jazz?" Or what?
Here he is mansplaining jazz to a woman.
But here's the thing: he understands what jazz really is. He's not showing her only white people from the '90s saying that's what jazz. He's not showing her Kenny G, and she even brings up that stuff, and he's like, "No." I mean, he's being respectful of the actual cultural history. Yeah,
he understands jazz.
He appreciates it, and he just deeply wishes he was part of it.
And Damien Chazelle, Sorry,
I think you're
NSYNC
thinking
is still
NSYNC
yeah,
again.
NSYNC's still in my head. He understands jazz. He was in a jazz band in college. Like he
and his roommate, I think was it at Harvard or whatever, Mitch Hurwitz, who composed this film,
yeah
the score, also did Whiplash.
yeah.
You know, one of the coolest director-composer combinations of this era.
Oh, they're gonna do
Only a few
great
films
things
in.
together.
They will continue to do great. I'm still, as of this podcast recording, it was recently announced that Chazelle's next film will not be about a jazz musician
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing.
with a film passion. It's about Neil Armstrong, and it's also going to have Gosling, I believe. And I'm just curious to know, like, does Neil
Jazz in
Armstrong have like a
space?
saxophone ability that he plays on the moon, or how do they work that into it?
Playing the sax on the moon.
Or is he going to just drive Hurwitz out of a job this early into his, I think, Oscar-winning career at this point?
Maybe we just find out that Neil Armstrong is a fan of smooth jazz and Kenny G's in the movie.
I really hope none of that's true.
I just,
I'm
What
kind of
about
curious to know
Michael
what kind of
Bolton?
movie. I mean, what? I trust Chazelle at this point. I think he's 3 for 3. I actually really enjoyed that. It might have been like a student film, Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench, whatever it was called.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one.
Well, on Fandor, subscription service for indie films, they go out of their way to find like the earlier films from some of these, really cool directors out there right now. So like, Denis Villeneuve's early stuff is on there. Chazelle's early stuff's on there. Some really cool stuff that like you read about, you're like, well, I can't find it anywhere. Fandor has it. They're not paying for this. They're not, a promoter. I don't think we've had a single podcast listener yet, so let alone like an ad, offering. But I do believe in that service and think it's really cool and recommend that to anyone that just likes watching obscure movies. And once again, we get Emma Stone in these blue lights as she explains, "I got a call back. She finally got a call back." And Gosling's just excited. He doesn't know anything about this. He's just, all he hears are the facts. I mean, she was making fun of that, audition earlier, and he's just like skeptical. You got a call back for that thing you didn't like? He starts being supportive, and now she's realizing it, and they're just having a fun conversation. And now he's just referencing, James Dean, and they're setting up. He doesn't. It's weird because he seems to like these classic movies, and he seems to have a passion. He has that line about how they worship everything and respect nothing, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's such a Chazelle, a writer speaking through the character line. Once again, this is a movie for transplants. This is not a movie made by someone who grew up, was born in L.A.
No, it's someone that loved the mysticism that is L.A.
And, I can relate. I know Wilson can. When you're someone that grows up in a small town and you care about something so much that no one else, relates to you on. I mean, Chazelle's different. He's a little more privileged background, had a nice education.
When I was growing up, I wanted to play for the Sacramento Kings.
Sure. Well, Chazelle's from the East Coast and, not Hollywood. And by the way, the first iterance of City of Stars is now. We get what I think is my favorite filmed scene of Ryan Gosling on film ever, which is just him on this boardwalk.
Picking up the hat.
Dancing with the old woman.
Such a beautiful shot, too.
It really is. As he's walking back down the pier at the end of it, and he's just whistling, I just think it's the most beautiful filming of Gosling ever. And he's a beautiful man. There's been some pretty good shots of this guy in his career, especially whenever he works with...
just hinting at classic
Nicholas
hat
Winding
dancing.
Refn. Yeah. But, I've been the person, I know the people that their whole life, they're just super passionate about something, whether it's film, whether it's, music, whatever it is. And they want to talk about it with anyone who will listen, but no one else understands.
This old dude's so great. That look he gives him, like, what the?
Yeah, it's my wife.
Bro,
slaps him on the arm.
Come on, man.
But, and here's the shot as he's got his hands in his pockets and he's just walking back down the pier, that purple orange light. It's just beautiful. And when you grow up passionate about something and no one else gets it, and then your parents tell you, wait till you get to college, then everyone who's there is into the same thing as you are. They want the same degree as you, and you're like, okay, you start to make some friends that'll probably have a better bond, after that than like say your elementary school friends who you're just friends by circumstance or by proximity. But it isn't until after college, if you're pursuing an entertainment career, if you go to LA, that's when things start to really fall into place. When you look around, when you're me and you come here and you start saying everything's named after Bob Hope, Johnny Carson Park, W.C. Fields Parkway. These are the types of things where I come from, no one knows who Johnny Carson is anymore. No one, God forbid someone knew who W.C. Fields was. I know who that is because, my dad's obsessed with him. The types of things where it's like, these are the bonds I have with my parents or with, some the people that are important to me. But when I come to a town where everyone shares that, it's just, It's such a feeling of coming to a home you never knew you had. And for Chazelle, I bet it was a very different experience for him. He's such a prodigy, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't use that term lightly. Like, obviously he's talented. I think youngest Oscar winner for Best Director ever at this point. Like, if you're saying he's not talented, seriously, go jump off a bridge.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, like, what? He went to Harvard, right?
I believe it was Harvard.
Yeah, like this dude is extremely smart. He's artistic from childhood. Objectively, yeah.
Like, it's not subjective at this point. The dude obviously has a talent.
Yeah.
And for him to come to a city where everyone else gets his reference, where he could probably quote Rebel without a cause and they know what he's talking about because every old theater is still playing it 50 years later. You know, one of my favorite things about living in this town is I've seen every one of my favorite films on the big screen.
Oh, man.
Even obscure crap. I've seen Batman Returns on the big screen 25 years after it came out.
Bro, when we
Blazing
went and
Saddles.
when we saw Blazing Saddles like 3 times in theaters.
And Mel Brooks showed up to one of them. That was cool.
Man,
when you get to meet your heroes.
Yeah, that was magic. But when we watched Blues Brothers in a theater, I don't remember which theater that was.
That was the Egyptian double feature with Stripes.
Oh, that was such a fun one.
That's the type of thing I like literally grew up wishing I could do.
Yeah.
And I know Chazelle probably did too, because this film is basically suggesting that a lot.
Mm-hmm. But
now we meet Emma Stone's douchey, fratty boyfriend, I guess. You know, the dude who is like Brad Pitt's protege in The Big Short. Yeah. He might have the most to gain from anyone in this film. You know, just keeps getting seen in these Oscar-winning movies. He might eventually get like a decent role of his own.
Yeah, he'll get a co-star situation.
I don't remember what his name is, but he looks like a tad. T-A-D.
A tad.
A tad.
A Todrick.
Yeah, Todrick. Of course, we hear me and Sebastian's theme play on the PA. And, this is such a great douchebag scene. Just this dude in that Wall Street, blue shirt, white collar, just speaking some vaguely Asian. And it's just, you don't know him. He's probably the nicest guy in the world, but he's a douche.
No, he's not.
Look at the way he's dressed. Look at hearing him just speak Asian, whatever, generic Asian.
Yeah.
We see Gosling in that, I think, once again, now instant I think every costume, speaking of costumes, the costume design in this film is amazing. You see Rebel Without a Cause, by the way. See the red jacket? That's how he was dressed earlier. So I'm not full of crap.
I mean, he had the yellow pants, but...
Right, but, you know, it was 80s. You can't wear jeans. Point is, the costume in this movie is so good. It tells you a lot about the characters, how they're feeling in that moment. You know, Emma Stone wearing this dark green, almost a bluish dress. It's ambivalence. You know, she's not in dark blue anymore, and it's definitely a transitional phase for her.
Yeah.
We see Gosling in that brown suit that he rocks so well. And, what? I'm getting a weird look from my dog. She starts to hear that music, and she's reminded that there's greater opportunity elsewhere, and that maybe she isn't totally content with going with the flow. She might be with this guy because he's the one dude that went up to her and asked her out. She probably was someone in the crowd, and he came up to her. Gosling's the person she went up to. And we don't know how she met her husband by the end of this film, but you get an idea that that's like a genuinely healthy and happy relationship. They don't have any friction in the moments we see them together. They're very nice to each other, very cordial.
That's why she didn't get up, slap him, and then walk over to Gosling at the end of the movie, obviously.
Unfortunately. No, not unfortunately.
No.
It's for the best.
No, the movie ended the way it should.
It did.
I'm tired of hearing otherwise.
They really shouldn't wind up together. Should not.
No, they shouldn't.
And it looks like she's in Santa Monica, and she's going to go apparently run down a residential street.
She's going to run to Pasadena right now.
Pasadena, where the Rialto is. I'm guessing her car is parked somewhere on that street. But, like, I think she, like, Ubered earlier in the film, right? No, she has a car by the end of this movie, that's for sure. She has a car. Presumably has a car.
Because she has the Prius from the entire street dance.
Point is, I don't know what time of night this is. If it's probably like 7. That's when these movies usually start, these classic films on like a weekend.
That theater looks amazing. I don't know if that's the Rialto, but that's a beautiful theater inside of it.
And it's probably an hour and a half drive, I would imagine, in traffic.
Yeah, from Santa Monica? Yeah, on a weekend?
Yeah, like that's not like the easiest drive. And it looks like the credits are just starting. So they play a little bit with the time continuity, I'm assuming.
Well, LA's a very small place in this movie. We'll just say that.
It very much is.
Yeah.
Like from Pasadena, they go to the Griffith after this.
Yeah.
Apparently, they just freaking park at the top of it. Like they don't park in any of the many designated parking areas. They just go right to the front door.
Yeah, just drive on through.
Because that's what they did in Rebel Without a Cause, like we're seeing right now.
Oh, I didn't even realize this was Rebel.
There's still a statue in front of the Griffith to this day, a bust of James Dean.
Yeah.
With missing eyes. It's so creepy. And I wonder how many like pennies have been thrown in there.
I guess they're watching Rebel. Why would I not know that was Rebel? Sorry, I'm just my mind's being
Wilson
blown.
goes into blind stupors after kicking puppies all day.
No, I do not kick puppies. I don't want that out there.
You gotta stop kicking puppies then, bro. So, we see the initial moment you see in so many romance films as they slowly inch towards holding each other's hands. And we get that really, cute aborted first kiss because, of course the film reel has to rip. But, if it gets us to my favorite Gosling trick, the double take over the shoulder, it's a nice moment. Because he waited for her. He didn't just leave. He believed she would show up. And, of course, she's just happy he's there. And because she was not thrilled at dinner. That double take, just watching him look over his shoulder, makes me so happy. And they're both having this look on his face of like, really? This moment was ruined by that?
Yeah.
But she has an idea. Here's her taking an initiative. It's her actively choosing to make her life better through her own choices.
How do you know that was her idea?
She just said, I have an idea.
Oh.
We're watching it on subtitles. What the
I thought it was just a simple look.
Subtitles. I have an idea. I've seen the movie 5 times. She says, I have an idea.
You know I don't read.
As they just drive on the walkway of the Griffith.
That place is all blocked off by like security rails and stuff now.
And the observatory is one of the most beautiful, viewing areas.
One of my favorite places in the city for sure.
It's the first place I take any girl I go on a date with. Date 2. First one's movie and dinner because I'm classy.
I like to go there alone and not worry about other people.
I've shadowed Travis Wilson on one of these excursions. He didn't know about this, and he's just learning this for the first time. But I followed him around as he climbed to the highest height, and I heard him whisper a prayer to himself. And he crouched down as if he was about to leap.
But instead,
just
tear.
Sat down, started rocking back and forth, got up, wiped off those tears. And then
I say, damn you, L.A.
And then he went to the nearest liquor store and tried to get some free whiskey.
I wish.
Now, I've done Griffith a few times. I've been through the tours. I know how there's like one imperfection on that restored ceiling as a little tribute to the original painter. I know how that, it's not gravity. What would you call that? The stupid ball that's rotating on the inside.
Centripetal force.
Centrifugal, yeah. That thing. And now we see them dancing in the Griffith. I think by this point at night, people would be by the, the telescope, waiting to look at the stars.
Yeah.
So, I guess the place might be empty. I don't know if they're trying to say this place would be closed right now. And there's a telescope, one of the viewing rooms.
No, that's the stargazer.
The stargazer. I like how he cleaned off the little handle for her. That's so cute. And I've never been in this room. I've been in the Leonard Nimoy Event Horizon Theater and watched a 10-minute video from Leonard Nimoy.
This room is just like a projection of all the stars. Like it's a planetarium, I guess. Or a astro... I don't know what you call them.
Constellations. Maybe. I don't know.
No, this ain't no tarot card reading. I'm really showing my inability to learn about astronomy? Or is it astrology? Which one's the fake one?
Astrology.
That's a fake. I thought that...
Astronomy is the study of stars.
I thought astrology was the study of stars.
Astrology
That's why you
is
got
the
ology.
science of stars. The supposed science of...
Really?
Yeah, zodiac signs and all that crap. Which, by the way, everyone in this town believes in. I've been told we can't be together because you're a Scorpio and I'm a Cancer. And I'm like, you have Cancer? I'll support you through your... I'm not funny.
I am not a Scorpio.
We get the most fantastical sequence in this film. My mother called me after watching to say, Max,
why are they flying?
I didn't like the ending. They should have been together. And do they have superpowers? Why were they in space?
Nobody understands.
No one understands. But we get the beautiful silhouette dancing in the universe. And part of it, I guess, is to illustrate how alone they felt in the universe until they found each other. Part of it might illustrate, once again, they got their head in the clouds. There's a lot of symbolic,
Also, it just looks like a classic rotoscope of an older movie.
It does. This looks like a DVD menu to me.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a classic movie, a classic musical from back in the day.
Sure.
Obviously, the stars and stuff look a lot better than the animation that they would have used back then.
Sure.
But...
I mean, it's a gorgeous scene.
Yeah, it's
a beautiful
beautiful
scene. And by the end of the film, if they're not together, you shouldn't feel bad because they have these beautiful moments early on. You should be happy that these two, in their time together in each other's lives, had these memories.
Yes.
and I want to get to the ending when we get to the ending, so I'm not going to, blow my load there. But when we finally get their first kiss, they might have been dancing this whole time. It's a fantasy film. They might have just been sitting there staring into each other's eyes before finally kissing. It doesn't really matter. The point is, in their heads, in their little la-la land, they were dancing. They just went through this whole thing. And now we finally see Emma Stone, again, taking initiative as she's writing her play. We see her grubby friends going, I want a part. You got to include me. And she's like, it's a one-woman show. Showing that those friends aren't exactly, her closest. I don't know about you, but when I try to make something out here, I immediately think, who do I involve? Which of my friends do I involve in the project? Wilson, you're kind of the same way. A lot of our friends are like that. She doesn't view her friends like that. And that's fine. But, she's trying to put herself forward. She's finally trying to push herself. She's not trying to do something as a group. Now we get purples. Look at all these purples and greens in the background.
It is very beautiful.
Primary and secondary colors. This film gets it. Now there's a fun gag. He turns right, and you can see the one-way side, but you're like, oh, that's just dumb Hollywood.
Are there only primary and secondary colors?
No, gray, the road. What?
Well, I mean, I know there's the entire grayscale, but colors, everyone always says primary and secondary. Are there thirdary?
Tertiary, yes. And
what's that? Fuchsia?
Oh, the Van Beek. Yeah, that's what happens when you mix red and purple, stuff like that.
But that's dumb.
It's not dumb.
Primary and secondary. No, there's primary and then there's colors. There's the three colors that make all the colors.
There's technically primary, tertiary, quadrary.
No. There's primary and there's and there's colors.
Ryan and Emma's super progressive interracial couple that come back once later in the film but aren't actually characters. And you see them wear a Dodgers cap for 1 second.
Yeah. Here we are in another LA landmark that probably not enough people
it's shut down. It's not in use anymore. They reopened it just for this film. The whatever rail car thing. You gotta walk up a huge stairway to get there. Yeah. Now they're back at the lighthouse and Gosling's been invited on stage. And Emma is super into jazz at this point. That's progression. Now, sometimes you see characters take on traits of their partners, and it's a disappointing thing because it's oh no, it's abusive. She's not herself anymore. But what he's doing is broadening her horizons, and she's broadening his, in the various scenes we see them in. So, in this moment when she's, enjoying jazz, it's not that she's liking jazz all of a sudden. She's liking doing this with him. Mm-hmm. And she's dancing, all these black people staring. Okay, maybe there is a white savior thing. All the black people are like, wow, look at this white woman go. She's showing them how it's done.
No, I don't see
it. I'm kidding.
They're in a jazz club. Obviously, it's not going to be full of white people.
I know. It feels, there's old white Jewish guys in the back, which feels authentic to me.
Yeah, he owns the club.
Yeah. Every white dude in there does look severely Jewish, and good, because jazz is a story of two races, black men and Jewish men. Benny Goodman, yo.
If I was a wealthy man.
That's
not jazz?
That's possibly anti-Semitic. I can say this because I'm Jewish. Wilson, an avowed neo-Nazi.
Shut up. Do not say that.
I promise I will stop telling everyone about...
Stop it. No, I know you're going to do the exact
nationalist
thing.
Propaganda.
You're doing the puppy joke again. Let's not just keep doing Let's not keep doing the same joke with different words.
For the love of God, please don't accuse me of joking. If there's one thing my mother and most women I've dated have reminded me of, it's that I'm not funny. I only tell the truth.
And no, you don't. I'm just saying, no.
Well, I can sit here and tell you about my botched circumcision, but until I pull it out...
Legend. Yeah. Shut.
Take my word for it.
John Legend shows up for the first time.
In a yellow shirt.
An amazing turtleneck.
A turtleneck, you're right.
He's looking like a black James Bond from the 60s.
There was no black James Bond in the 60s.
Well, he's wearing a 60s style turtleneck. Come on. Or early 70s, I would say. Some around that time period is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, Wilson, who is in his mid to late 40s, has lied about his age.
30. I'm 30 years old.
30 going on 40.
30 years old.
Yep. 30-year-old neo-Nazi dog kicking Wilson Teacock. We now get another very LA thing. I guess this is his bedroom, with just two pictures pinned to the wall. Mm-hmm. As I sit here in Wilson's podcast studio, blank walls. In my my living room, my hallways are just covered in like movie posters. So you kind of see like the full range here, where it's like, our buddy Matt, who we keep talking about, he has a couple pictures just pinned to the wall. Now, I guess everywhere in the country that's how it is. But in LA, it feels like homes are so temporary that a lot of people, they just don't have permanent artwork up, especially if they're like an actress or if he's like a struggling jazz musician who kind of bounces around. Because I bet they both do. If they've both been here as long as, they suggest, I doubt they've been in the same place this whole time. Now, this is obviously Gosling's place. I don't remember. Have they moved in together yet?
Oh, I don't actually know.
Did they ever move in together officially? I guess she does. She moves her stuff out of her place and moves in with him. And then she moves out of his place when they have the big breakup.
It's way too quickly for any relationship. You should wait at least 3 years before even thinking about moving in with someone.
I have to agree with that based on experience, which is most women I've asked to move in with me is after less than a year of knowing them, and I do not know most of these women today.
You should not move in with a woman. That's until you go, hey, I'm going to put a ring on it. That's what I always say. You go, if you like it, then you should put a ring on it, and then you move in.
What Wilson's referring to is a really cruel, tricky place. You know how in Hollywood they have those show business glasses where there's no lenses in the frame. So when Wilson puts on condoms, it's really just the ring at the end of it, and he tells the woman, look, there it is. The condom's on. It's just really thin. You can't tell.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what Wilson means is he's not ready to move in with a girl until his awful trick to raw dog backfires on him and he winds up with a pregnant
He just
girlfriend.
used the term raw dog.
I'm sorry. Did I use the incorrect term?
No, I believe it's correct. It just sounds so wrong.
So now we get a very heartbreakingly real moment for a lot of dudes, which is having to hear their girlfriend on the phone explain, well, he doesn't have money yet, but he's got dreams.
Yes. I hear women tell you that on the phone.
Yeah. And we see stains in his ceiling. We see that his place isn't exactly perfect. We know his artwork is literally drawings pinned to his wall.
He lives in 99% of the apartments in LA.
He does. And you can tell for the first time he aspires to something greater. Not because he needs it, but because, well, he kind of cares about Emma Stone.
He wants to do something for her, so he goes to John Legend.
He thinks he wants to do something for her.
Well, yeah, at this point in his life, he wants to do something for her.
But if there's one thing this film reveals, is that they give each other an excuse to pursue something greater for themselves.
Yes.
And they can justify it by saying it's for the other person. And she kind of points it out to him, like, you're not doing this for me if you're taking the, $1,000 a week job or whatever it was. Just being like a studio musician and touring, musician or whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe he does enjoy being, doing something that's considered successful. And that's, good enough if it's not the personal passion. Until, he realized, big theme in this movie is compromise. Because he's a guy that's unwilling to compromise his views. And she might be in some places too willing to compromise. She's willing to give up.
But then she starts doing stuff for herself. And he starts to compromise because of the other person.
Right. And this is a movie about how he learns to compromise, essentially.
He's just like, nope.
Right. And as the song just picks up.
And again, the double take.
Yeah,
like the finger in the air. Like,
He's looking at like an outlet on the wall. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay. I can do this.
But he can adjust.
See, and that's physical comedy right there. Just the facial expressions, the little things.
Now notice he's wearing blue.
Ooh, that might mean something.
So now we get the most confusing scene in the film for dumb people, which is a scene where a black dude and a white person talk about jazz, and most people assume the white guy's mansplaining or white-splaining. Mm-hmm. But no, this is John Legend explaining to a white dude how stupid he is.
Yes.
And this is a very important scene.
Yeah, he's like, you don't understand. You're playing an old man's music that doesn't matter anymore.
You're obsessed with Thelonious Monk. He was a revolutionary. How can you be a revolutionary if you're a traditionalist?
Oh, man, that's a great line. How are you going to be a revolutionary?
And then you have the people that misunderstand. And, it's one thing for marketing to say this is a classic throwback Hollywood musical, and it's not. It's a very modern film. It's a modern drama that happens to have hints to that old style because Chazelle has an appreciation for it the same way Gosling's character has an appreciation for the old style. Emma Stone, actress who doesn't know any classic movies, really. Maybe when she was a kid, but she never saw, like, Rebel Without a Cause. She's not, like, a student of film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not either, but he knows more about it, ironically. And that's something you also see out here, is, like, people's passions are different than their, knowledge base. Like, I might have a huge love for listening to jazz, but I might not know anything about it. I might be a great musician, might not know anything about, the forefathers of that genre. Or same with film. I meet actresses out here whose, favorite movies are just random, obscure crap. They just grew up watching, like, well, that girl, that actress, I wanted to be like, she was so pretty in that movie, and I want to look like her someday in that. I want that makeup. I want to sit in that chair. So, okay, that's perfectly valid reasoning. If that's what gives you purpose, if that's what makes you feel at home in your own skin, fine. And other people are students of the game that are so obsessed with that world-building dick at that party is probably so obsessed with writing. He probably studied every screenwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And, he probably will be successful in his own way, and he might even be happy. But it's just very different types of people out here. It's about finding the personality types you can, live with as friends, as more than friends, whatever it is. And these two are very dissimilar. This is not a relationship that would ever work. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, from the very moment we meet them, it's a dysfunctional connection.
Yeah.
Whether it's flipping each other off, whether it's bumping into each other at a bar, whether it's just constantly, asking the other person to change, essentially, for them.
But Max, opposites attract.
Well, sure. I'm very attracted to women, the opposite of men. Wilson,
That's a spectrum.
Wilson believes in spectrums. He really, really, I don't want to sound homophobic or transphobic. I have no joke. I have nothing to say. I'm not Louis C.K. I can't get away with saying something that I don't actually believe without.
How does he get away with that?
He's bald, and his life presumably already sucks because he's divorced, so people just say, whatever, this is all he's got.
So all I have to do is become bald, and I'll be amazing?
All you gotta do is take off that toupee, Wilson.
It's not. It's my real hair. It's gray and everything.
When the world finds out about your puppy-kicking exploits.
I do not kick dogs.
Well, grown dogs know, because they can fight back.
Child dogs. I do not hit child dogs.
Jury's still out on that. They're deliberating.
I have never hit a small dog.
Notice how Emma Stone takes off her apron. She's walking away from that blue counter. We see Gosling's transformation sequence. He's being measured up for his new life, essentially. We see her wearing a much warmer color, this pink. I guess it's still like a cold one, but that might just be the coloring in this scene. We start to see the active changes they're making in their own lives, to whether it's to pursue their own dream or just to do what they think's the right thing. Gosling's not doing this because it'll help him accomplish his goal. Yeah. He's doing this. You might be compromising too much at this point. And while he does learn to compromise, he does ultimately learn, what it means to stick to what you want to do, and he ultimately gets what he wants in the end.
Yeah,
partially
they
by
both
doing
get
adjusted
what they
compromise.
Actually want.
Yeah. Now, in her case, he teaches her to be uncompromising and to keep pursuing. That's a weird touch, the Rialto being closed, because it's not in real life, and that's just disheartening.
Yeah, but for her story.
For her story. It's poetic. Like,
this is what I fell in love with this man is like, it's kind of gone.
It's
now.
the first hint that they're not going to work out.
Yeah.
Truthfully. Like,
besides, every other time when they met.
But, like, their relationship is so rooted in miscommunication and literally not being on the same page to the point that we're never seeing them in the same room again until, like, the concert scene.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also another, once again, misconception that's on the internet. Is like, oh, we're supposed to hate John Legend's song, but we kind of like it. Or do we hate it? The point of that scene is not that John Legend's song sucks, that Ryan Gosling has sold out to do awful music. It's that he's not playing his music.
Yeah, that song's one of the best songs in this movie.
And music's subjective. There's a whole crowd of people loving that song, and she probably would too under any other circumstance. Mm-hmm. She made it clear before she met Gosling that she prefers probably that type of music.
Yeah.
It's just disheartening to see someone she cares about compromise too much or sell out even. So, I mean, and that's the next scene, basically, as City of Stars is ending.
Mm-hmm. City of Stars.
Yeah, I mean, and they like each other. They clearly adore each other. But there's something missing there. And not even missing. There's just something that just isn't present, which is a different thing. That they don't exactly... They never needed each other.
No.
Or they never thought they did. And now we get, this... piano solo.
Oh, and then he goes to this the weird rolling keyboards. I don't know what those are called, but
but
look at that light.
What this scene does visually is one, show two people in the room, it's Gosling and it's Emma. Then it adds the third person, the Yoko Ono, John Legend. And then it puts the light on everyone in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly she's a face in the crowd, the exact thing she didn't want to be. And she gets pushed farther and farther away. What? It's almost like visual storytelling's a real thing.
That's not a real thing.
Oh. So we see Gosling having fun, and then suddenly it becomes something she didn't even realize. It's like she never even listened to music till now. Like she just did not know this is what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just watching. Now all the people are lit up. He's just completely obscured by all these other distractions on the stage, whether it's the background singers, whether it's the full band, whether it's John Legend wearing bright red front and center, as Gosling's wearing his darker suit. But
Gosling's he's happy when he's playing this music. Like he's obviously smiling. He's glad he's there.
But in his mind, he thinks it's because Emma can see him doing what he sacrificed to make her happy, to make her mom happy, of all people.
Also, as I've said multiple times in this movie, he, again, is above this. He's always above what he's doing.
Yeah. Like, he's literally playing with one hand at this
Until
point.
the end where he's happy about what he's doing. Yeah, he's playing two different pianos at the same time. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm too good for this.
And once again, it's okay to like this song. It's a good song.
It's a great song.
It's just not the type of song that Gosling wanted to play as a character. So, yeah, he's just playing the little keyboard.
Oh, he has a hand in his pocket. He's like, oh, I'm better than this, dude.
And once again, now Gosling's completely obscured by the dancers. You can't even see him anymore.
Yeah, it's background.
Yeah. And you see glimpses of him, and she's getting pushed farther and farther away in the crowd. And once again, now she's colored in blue again.
Oh, and she has that look. Like, those eyes, like, when she gets, like, sad eyes or, like, what's going on eyes, you're like, whoa. Like, those eyes are extremely expressive.
Now she's being pushed to the back of the crowd. I mean, that's just... It's
as
simple storytelling, but it works.
Other women want to look at his boyfriend because, like, he's just rocking. He's just rocking out.
He's killing it.
He's killing it.
And it's the idea, there is that satisfaction there because people are, like, worshiping his work, and he's not even trying.
Yeah. He doesn't... He's still, like, he doesn't want to do this.
He's got a hand in his pocket.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. He went from noticing her and playing for her at the beginning of this to now he's just playing for himself.
You're right.
And he doesn't even notice that she's been pushed away. Until he does. Now he's just going to town.
And then he looks to the crowd, right? Does he?
He looks for John Legend's validation first.
Yeah, and now he's looking.
And now he's looking, can't find her. Fall, smash cut. Love that. It works on two levels, obviously, again.
This entire relationship falls under like a year, right?
It's less than 6 months.
The fourth season?
It's spring and summer. And then fall they break up for the first time.
Yeah.
They break up like 3 times in this movie. Chinatown. I walk past that Royal Pagoda Motel all the time on Bernard whenever I'm in Chinatown. I look in the glass window and I see Emma Stone's face and I feel like I'm going to get that
No, you
call
don't,
back
because this is the only time she's ever been there. She's not
I'm saying
there.
I see myself in the glass reflection. I'm pretending to be.
You think you're Emma Stone on the inside?
I'm not a jazz musician.
So,
keep talking, Wilson.
she walks. Yeah, I just don't even know. Like they only do is she like doesn't even walk by the hotel, does she?
Well, I don't know. I looked down at my phone for a second. Kind of wasn't paying attention to you. So we get this scene where she surprised to hear. She looks like she's coming home to a home invader. It's like it's jazz music and it smells like food. What do you think it is?
This looks like she opens that door like it's like she's being robbed, or it's the movie's safe room.
Yeah. And we get this, romantic, Gosling attempt to do something bold. Once again, just not on the same page. He couldn't even do the surprise without her showing up too early.
Yeah.
And I know whenever I'm trying to please a girl and she comes too early, literally. Oh, wait, let me stop there.
Does that happen to a lot of women?
I don't. When I mean shows up at home too early, and I'm still dealing with my previous date.
Oh, wait, don't even start doing that.
All right, I'm kidding. I have trouble enough getting one girl to spend time with me. There's definitely never been a polyamorous situation going on. I'm what's called what's below monogamous? What's zerogamous?
Lonely.
I call that Wilson T. Kirk.
Ooh, nice.
Nice light burn on you. I mean, honestly, Wilson could probably be rolling in women. if the public didn't know him as a neo.
Shut up.
One thing that's also really great
Boise.
That's where he's touring. One thing that's really great about this scene is that you hear that album in the background, and over the course of this dinner that becomes a fight, we hear the record end, like the passage of time.
And it's not even like a needle scratch ending.
No, it just ends. And once again, they're just not on the same page. And we mentioned earlier in the thing, I come from a Jewish background, and one of the biggest things, like my dad said when he complained to me about this film, he liked it a lot, by the way, but he's just like, you can tell they're not a Jewish couple because they broke up for the dumbest reasons. Jews get over crap. They figure out, they work through their problems. And it's like the types of miscommunications they have where he's just like, why don't you come with? She's like, I have a play. And he goes, so practice it anywhere. The reality is, yes, you can practice it anywhere. But the other reality is, okay, buddy, she has this play this one time. Just wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Like, don't be impatient. Don't be a jerk to her.
Yeah, don't you know she has dreams as well?
The fact is, this is the first time, not the first time, this is the first time in a long time they're both being selfish. And they're not thinking about the other. Because he's saying you can practice that anywhere. That doesn't mean, for her sake, that means, well, you can practice it near me, where I want you to be. And, in her case, she says, I have a one-woman show I have to focus on, And they're starting to realize it's not each other's company they really need. Mm-hmm. It's the support.
Yes.
And it's the type of thing that comes back later in that epilogue montage that's so beautiful, which is that, once again, compromise. If the whole movie's about coming of age, of closure, of compromise, of being able to look back on those past relationships and seeing, the traits you've gained. So when you have, I don't want to talk about it yet. I don't want to talk about it yet till we get there.
Oh, man.
You have this fight scene.
Who would have thought that we should do this podcast in real time?
Yeah, let's do it in real time. You have this scene where they're just really falling apart for, no reason. I mean, there's just no actual, unconditional support at this point. And they both realize that's what they ultimately have to be, is supportive of each other.
Yeah. They're just now realizing, yo, maybe we are on two different roads.
I mean, and it's similar to Whiplash. Spoilers if you haven't seen that.
What?
When Miles Teller's character dumps Supergirl because he explains to her, we're on two different trajectories. And it's like, you can tell that Chazelle, when he was writing these films, must have had some ex-girlfriend that, he thought, for whatever reason, just justified in his head, prevented his greatness. Mm-hmm. Now, if Whiplash was the film he makes when he's still angry at that ex, La La Land's the film where he says, I'm sorry or I forgive you.
Yeah, but also, I don't know if he would ever feel that. I feel like Damien knows his greatness too well.
I don't know.
To, have that feeling.
All I know is, I don't want to call myself a genius because, most standardized testing organizations have already done that. And I've been the dumbass that gave that speech to a girl before about how we're on two different trajectories. If we were on roller coasters, we wouldn't be on the same one.
Yeah, because you talk like you're not a human a lot of the time.
But so does Miles Teller in that film. And if he's about a jazz musician in school.
And so does Damien Chazelle.
If he's saying it's based on him, I'm assuming he's been through that crap. So now if you get an older jazz musician who lives in Hollywood, I mean, these two films, the main character is him. It's obvious.
Yeah.
He's not writing about his best friend. That's
Maybe
his muse.
Better of a him.
Well, it's the idea is this is a more mature, well-adjusted version of him. If Whiplash is the guy he was before he came to Hollywood, La La Land is the movie he became after he got to Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Now, appropriately, the Neil Armstrong one would be the one once he reached the stars.
What?
That's his emotional maturity trilogy.
I know I sound like I might be putting down Damien, but he is legitimately a genius, and I love everything that he's done to this point that I've seen.
I've graduated film school a while ago, but I have a sneaking suspicion Whiplash is already being taught, especially for that finale sequence, if only for the editing. We'll talk about Whiplash eventually, I'm sure, but Whiplash is a boxing film that happens to be about a jazz musician.
It really is.
It really is. The structure of the format, it's just a great movie all around, a perfect film, and perhaps one of the 5 best of the last 20 years, honestly.
Even better than Too Late?
A little bit better than Too Late. La La Land's a movie where I'm in love with this movie. I really am. I'm hesitant to call it better than Whiplash because what Whiplash accomplishes structurally is so insanely profound and I would say revolutionary even in that final sequence.
As an amazing story, Whiplash cannot be beat. For setup of how a story should be told.
And most triumphantly perfect endings to a film I've ever seen is Whiplash.
Yes.
La La Land begins to show a narrative with Damien as a filmmaker. You start to see as an auteur, if we can use that, word.
A filmmaker.
A filmmaker. But as an artist, there are running themes in his films. You have the jazz musician protagonist. Mm-hmm. You have the guy who doesn't get the girl in the end. Mm-hmm. You have the really well edited finales.
Mm-hmm.
Where, it literally shows both sides of the pod. Whiplash, you have this guy that's looked like he's about to be made a giant fool of. It's a bait and switch as he then takes over the situation. La La Land, we'll get into that in a minute. Or in about an hour, probably. Holy crap. How far in this movie are we?
I don't know.
We still got another 40 minutes.
Jeez.
Well, there's plenty to talk about. It's a really great movie for discussion. And, once again, the music's over. He's pulled out I guess that's like a souffle or something. I don't know. Looks awful. He's
a dessert of some sort.
A dessert of some kind.
But yeah, we should talk a little bit about the music ending. I know that's another thing a lot of people had trouble with. Right. In the middle of the movie, there is no music.
Oh, the songs.
Yes.
Just dropping out for a while.
Yes. It becomes a normal movie and not a musical in the middle of the movie. Why do you think that is?
I think it's better this way because the story didn't dictate a need for this type of song. Mm-hmm. Because there was only like 3 songs in the movie when you think about it because they keep playing City of Stars.
Yeah, because it's
an emotion. It's a musical, but it's also an emotional through line throughout the story.
Yeah.
And this is not Paint Your Wagon where like everything has to be a song. This movie is telling a story first and foremost, and when the song, when the moment emotionally builds to it, then a song happens.
Yes.
Comic book movies, action movies in general, with musicals have a lot in common, which is, you have your quiet, calm moments, and then, when it builds to the greatest emotional peak, they both turn into a fantastical, otherworldly thing.
Yeah.
In a musical, they all break into song and dance as collectives, and in superhero movies, that's when they start using superpowers and fighting. That's not real.
I personally think, and I think a lot of other people that love this movie kind of see it the same way as me, to where the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, we see these people in somewhat of a fantasy world where there is music, there is dancing, but in the middle of the movie, that's where
harsh reality.
This is the real world. We aren't living in this fantasy world. We don't have this love. Like we're dealing with real stuff. We're dealing with the drudging of trying to follow our dreams.
Would you want these people singing a song about how depressed they are in their relationship?
I mean, it's worked for Les Mis.
So, a musical named The Miserable. We get maybe the funniest scene in the film is just this, creepy photographer instructing Gosling how to pose his face.
Yeah, and Gosling as covered up as can be to hide how amazing he is.
Oh.
Yeah, just how beautiful that man is.
And we get this weird scene where, if Gosling really wanted to, I don't think John Legend, as portrayed in this film, wouldn't have let Gosling go to his girlfriend's play.
Oh,
There's something else going on here. They've already had a fight. And though Gosling still tries to make it, he didn't do everything he could to be there for her. And that's what
Gosling could have said, hey, Legend, I got to do this. And Legend would probably be like, okay, well,
I only have till 6. Let's film me first. You know? It's what makes him going all the way to Nevada so much more beautiful is that he's finally actually putting in the effort, even when
he wants to try.
When he's got nothing to lose at that point because they've already broken up.
Yeah,
and he just does the right thing. That's his emotional arc. He's actually doing something for someone else, and not for himself. And he wants to use, you were talking to your mom on the phone as an excuse to do something for himself, to make money, to not have, to pay those bills, or worry about those bills anymore. And he's starting to transform the song into Mia and Sebastian's theme, and there's something else hanging over his head. Oh, it's such a great shot as he looks ridiculous, but it's once again Kuleshov effect. He doesn't have a single expression on his face. It's just blank, but we know exactly how he feels. Now notice Emma Stone, before she walked on stage, was covered in a red light, and now we're in a blue light. Again.
Yeah.
When reality sets in again.
Reality sets in. We see that.
We see her roommates. We see the casting.
We see the casting. That's the first time I've actually noticed the casting director or agent there.
Yeah. We see her framed in the blue.
We see
blue
the
drapes. Blue drapes frame her.
Yes. We see the very. Oh wow, that's cool. I like that. We see the very empty audience, like the real world audience. But yeah, the blue drapes around her instead of the red light, where she's dreaming versus the reality of the situation. Man, I never even realized that.
this movie's semiotics are on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
The point is, this is a really amazing film, and the knee-jerk reaction a lot of people had coming out is, well, it wasn't as good as Whiplash, or, oh, why didn't they get together in the end? This film wasn't what I wanted it to be. Instead of, really, really looking at the film for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Purple Light, as he, just primary and secondary colors. They know what they're doing.
It's blue and red mixing, bro.
Yeah. And, if I'm him, first of all, as I arrive, I rip my sleeve up, I punch myself in the face till I bleed. And I say, I just got in the worst accident. You wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But here's the second time they've broken up now. And they will break up a third time, presumably, at the end.
You're sorry?
Yeah. Notice there's a cop in the background, and he's driving by really slow.
Oh, wow.
I wonder what that was about. He must have driven by, saw a woman shove a dude, and then just drove away. Because I
think that was literally just a cop there.
I think it was. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
all he sees is a woman pushing a guy, like, and a cameraman, like, getting way close on her. I don't know how many people are on this. I'm guessing it's closed street. At this point.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I have no inside insight to this production. She can't pay back the theater. She's, thinking about short term. She's not thinking about the long term. He's the one that points out the long term for her. He's the one that, says, here's the call, the casting agent.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the appropriateness of that poster saying "So long, Boulder City," as she says "so long" to Ryan Gosling to go to Boulder City. I mean, I know I'm.
Is Boulder City? That's Vegas, right?
I don't know. It's Nevada of some sort.
I think it's outside Vegas.
Okay. I mean, there's also Boulder City, Colorado.
Yeah, but this is Boulder City, Nevada. We've already.
That is true.
Decided on that. I think it's like by Lake Mead. I don't even know. I don't know. I'm going on a tangent. Doesn't really matter.
It does not matter. We now see her just driving away. By the way, not literally the same highway, but the idea of, everyone else was trying to get into LA at the beginning of the film, and she's the one leaving, and she's by herself. Everyone else was jam packed getting to LA, and she just drove alone on her way out. Yeah, I don't know how intentional that is, but it's still on a subconscious level pretty fun to think about. As we see her regress to her old childhood home, she's taking steps backward. She's so worried and doubling down on her fear.
She's literally framed by a map.
Yep.
Of her place. Like, this is where she's at.
And now we see the cool, progressive, interracial friends one more time. And we see them one last time in photographs later. And their beautiful 5-year-old kid or whatever.
That guy looks like he's in Get Out.
That guy's in the sunken place. It's just weird how, like, every guest, there's no other interracial couples. Everyone else is either a black couple or a white couple or a black couple or a white couple. It's like they've united two, Capulets and the Montagues.
Well, yeah, it's two families. Like, that's what weddings are about.
I know, but can't there be, like, one other interracial couple or, like, a gay couple or something to break up the bizarre segregation?
Yeah, it seems like they would have friends outside of family.
Yeah, it's just family and Ryan Gosling, who, like, they know just went through a harsh breakup, and they asked him to perform, like, songs at the wedding.
He's loving it.
The guy must be rich, though. That's a really beautiful, like, she might be rich. He might be.
Or they're just renting a place for their wedding, as a lot of people do.
Look at the piano outside.
That's probably a rental as well. You don't understand how weddings work, do you?
I mean, I've never had one unlike you.
No, I technically haven't. I had a marriage, not a wedding. Courthouse show.
Mail order brides are a very tricky situation, I understand.
She was a woman I met in real life, not on the internet.
Oh,
I did not.
Was the divorce over the mail then?
Well, I mean, technically.
Okay, so mail order divorce.
There had to be papers sent in at some point.
I'm sure. So we get Gosling get the casting call, and we get that really great callback. By the way, something I didn't notice like the second time I watched it is like the honking thing that he does. Is that going to happen every time her roommate says to her at one point?
Yeah.
He's doing that because he literally remembers the first time they met was him honking at her. Like, I didn't notice that. I just thought that was something he just does a lot is honk. I didn't realize like that's his callback to the beginning of their relationship.
Yeah, you think that it's just because he's a dick.
Right, but no,
I hate people that just honk out on the street. Isn't that the worst? People that just sit there and honk and honk and honk.
I mean, I would say kicking puppies is worse.
No, I do not kick puppies.
Well, we get Gosling basically calling her out for her regressive behavior. Literally going back to her childhood home and sitting in her childhood bed, staring at pictures of her trophies when she was a kid, when people told her she was great. And he's trying to explain to her, just because it didn't happen in the first 8 years doesn't mean, you can't control the right now or the tomorrow. That it's silly to dwell in the past. He's literally like yelling at her, and she's begging him not to yell because they're in a quiet neighborhood. I mean, this is an abusive relationship. They're screaming at each other in public. But they're not a couple at this point. They might kind of technically reconcile for the next day. But the point is, this is like him being a friend for her. And she was a friend to him when they needed it most. And it's helped shape who they will be in the future. And no, they're not going to wind up together. But they're both better people for having known each other and not worse off. And I like that.
Yeah.
Because I look back at some of my exes or friends I had that I just didn't talk to for a while because I had resentment there. And I go, you know what? I probably wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't know this or that, or I wouldn't have done this without that person being there. And I really like this film's a love letter to that. Just
26 miles southeast of Las Vegas.
Glad we settled where Travis's balls went in the divorce.
No, Boulder City. I just wanted to make sure.
Travis's boulders.
I don't know.
City.
I don't know if he drove to freaking Reno in a night. That's a drive.
It's probably a 5-hour drive for him, I would imagine.
To Reno?
No, to Boulder City.
Yeah.
If it's 30 miles south of Vegas, Vegas is like a 4-hour drive. It probably wasn't traffic when he left. I mean, there's going to be traffic.
Yeah, it's 4 to 5 hours. But
yeah.
What I was saying is I wanted to make sure the timeline fit in my brain.
Gotcha.
Because, you can drive to Vegas, but driving to Reno, you're taking, a 10-hour drive. Come on, bro. That's not right. You didn't make it there. You're going to be tired. Probably going to get in an accident on the way home. You don't want that.
So you get that beautiful touch of, you said it was in front of the library.
Yeah, that is. And then that's why he's honking his horn, because he doesn't know which house.
I mean, yeah, probably. He was parked in front of a different house. And she's on a corner. That's what makes it really weird. That's a great shot, the passage of time shot. The camera lens is fish-eyed for some reason.
Yeah, because a CinemaScope is a very wide...
They probably set that camera outside for 12 hours or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
We get this, he's wearing an Omega watch, like James Bond and my father. But once again, on the right fucking wrist. Excuse the language. Really fun gag here as he starts to pull away. He literally whatever. She didn't pull through in the end.
Hell.
She's like, I got coffee. It's a fun scene. And, wow, that must be the master shot, I imagine, if they're cutting back to that one.
Yeah, they just used an extremely wide-angle lens, and it's pulled out so far that you actually see the lens. It's understandable.
Yeah. So, one thing that, the rest of this film does. First of all, we know that he drove her 5 hours. She did not bring her car with her. So no matter what happens at the end of this, he does have to drive her home, presumably. He might have gotten her an Uber across the state lines or whatever.
Well, he could take her there. He could take off right now. They're in L.A.
Sure.
She could figure out where to go.
Of course, the dream situation that no one ever gets in this town is someone saying, tell us a story, we'll write a story around you. That doesn't happen probably ever to a nobody. But that's not the point. The point is she created an opportunity and now a dream is coming true. The chance that a dream is coming true. Because she took a chance. Because she was willing to do something she wouldn't otherwise do before. And because she ended up following through on it when a friend had to support her, he did. And she is now having the opportunity to live a dream. Because her dream might be being a famous actor, but it's also getting this carte blanche to actually audition on her terms for once. And when people say, hey, you have that something special, you have that X factor, there's something in you, you could be an actress. It's probably when she is telling those personal stories about her aunt. It probably is, when she's telling Gosling, I wanted to be an actor since I was 6 because my aunt would come in. It's probably all theatrical and really well told story, and she doesn't get to tell that in a real audition. So that she can then do this song, it's her chance to do something on her own terms for once and show the world who she really is, to show these casting agents who she really is. And that's kind of profound. Now, in Gosling's case, to show the world who he really is, it takes, compromise. Chicken on a stick is never going to be a successful jazz club. But he took the job he didn't want in the long term to pay in the short term for the club to have in the long term. Mm-hmm. And as either a tribute to Emma or Mia or whatever, or as as a testament to his ability to learn to compromise, he does name the place Seb's. And,
Or he just realizes it's just a better name.
It's a much better name. You can have an item on the menu, chicken on a stick.
That's a good call, though.
Yeah.
Whatever the reference was at the restaurant is supposed to be.
Charlie Parker, bird.
Yeah.
Is it chicken on a stick? Is that what they call it? I don't remember.
I know hot dog on a stick. It's the best place in any mall. They have fried cheese on a stick, bro.
That's
You could get
an
cheddar.
unnecessary use of stick.
You could get mozzarella. You could get other.
So they put toothpicks in
cheese
mozzarella
items?
sticks?
Well, they're corn dog sticks, and it's like they're bigger than mozzarella sticks. They're like hot dog sized mozzarella sticks.
Oh boy, profound.
Plus lemonade.
So when we get that, when this song's over and you get that scene where they're in Griffith Park one last time, which is where they walked up that hill together and tap danced. It's where they went after the movie, and it's where they essentially end their relationship in this film.
It's the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Right. Well, it is. You're right. And what this film does cleverly in those 5 years doesn't explain, they have that really kind of mature conversation about where do we go from here? I don't know. And he says, I'll always love you. And it's like, is that a breakup conversation? How much of those 5 years were they, did they stay in contact for like 3 of those years?
She went to France. You know those data plans?
Matter. How do we know he didn't go to France with her and it didn't work out there?
No, we know.
We don't. That's the thing.
Yeah, they try to do it long distance. I bet you anything they try to do long distance. They might have even like do a little phone sex every now and then. Well, but just the data plans were killing them.
I bet it would.
That long distance, man. Come on.
Yeah, on her star-making salary and his successful band salary, they probably wouldn't have Skyped or FaceTimed or used WhatsApp even.
Those data plans, yo.
So, I'm on unlimited data. I have no sympathy for you cretins who don't.
You don't know unlimited doesn't matter for international.
I don't really know anyone internationally. My sister goes to Israel every few years, but I kind of just don't talk to her.
Maybe you should be more cultured. Go to Cabo.
Yo. I went to a Chinese takeout place for lunch, and it was great.
I just said go to Cabo to get cultured.
I went to Cabo to get kidnapped with my mother, Goldie Hawn, and it was a really mildly uninteresting movie.
It's not in Cabo.
Where is it?
I think they went to like an Africa country, didn't they?
They definitely did not go to... Dude.
What?
The entire cast is Latino except for like those two. They're definitely in like Acapulco or something.
No, Acapulco.
You think they went on a mother-daughter vacation to Africa?
They went somewhere that's not...
Safe. Mexico.
Safe.
Mexico.
But Cabo is on... If they stay in the resort, it's safe. But
let's see if Wilson will Google something for the 3rd time today and be wrong.
No, I'm not going to.
Okay. So we get this conversation.
I'm not Googling. I'm just going to IMDb. No Google.
Okay. So why isn't it Kate Hudson and Goldie Hawn? Why not mother-daughter? It would have made the same amount of money, if not more.
First off, because it was like written by Amy Schumer.
So what? Whitney Cummings wrote a TV show she didn't star in. It was called Two Broke Girls, and it got canceled the day of this recording.
Katie Dippold actually wrote it.
Oh, did she? Great writer. Writer of Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh, was she?
I don't know if that makes her a great writer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say great writer.
That makes her a writer that kills young female stars' careers.
She's a writer that made some good money.
She's made money. Good for you, Katie Dippold. We get this scene now where they don't know what the future holds for their relationship. And what do we do? I don't think we can do anything. We don't really know what the next 5 years holds for them. We just know that at the end of the 5 years, they're not together. She has a kid that's at least, 2 or 3 years old. So, they might have hung out for another 6 months after this. We know that he probably took her home. They might have kissed goodbye at that point. We don't really know. And Ecuador. I find that pretty great. Because when this 5-year jump happens, you're expecting her and him to both have everything they want and be together. And when the reveal happens that she has that guy from That Thing You Do as her husband, you're like, what? Mr. Wonder?
Ecuador.
Whatever. What?
Ecuador.
Tom Everett Scott? Is that his name? Are they in Ecuador, really?
Snatched is in Ecuador.
Are you serious? Or are you just fucking with me?
No, that's what...
Who goes on vacation to Ecuador?
That's what the IMDb Tribune says.
I didn't know Ecuador allowed Amy Schumer within its borders. That movie looks so bad. First of all, Snatched should have been the sequel to Snatch. That should have been reserved for that. Whatever. I don't know. It's not even like a bit. I'm just mad that Guy Ritchie didn't use it. Instead made King Arthur this weekend.
Ooh, I want to see King Arthur, though.
But when she says, I'm always going to love
Charlie
you.
Hunnam.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. When she says, I'm always going to love you, and he says it too, they're telling the truth. They always will love each other because of what they mean to each other in this moment of time and in their formative... This is a coming-of-age story about two people that come of age in their late 20s, early 30s.
Yes.
Because when you live this, La La Land, again, we're going to say it. When you're living in that universe, You don't come of age at like 14 when like, your parents are killed in the streets and you have to become Batman. It's like...
In some parts of LA, I'm guessing that does happen.
Well, sure, but not in that part of town. This is about two people that are probably a little too protected and sheltered who just had this dream and were allowed to survive and had those lifelines and then actually finally took steps to achieve their dreams. And we got the winner. We got the 5-year later jump.
Ooh, 5 years later.
Looks like we're back at Warner Brothers or something.
And that was totally their last moment together, was at Griffith. Well, except for the very awkward drive to wherever he dropped her off at.
So that's what I'm saying is, because they were so on again, off again, I don't think you really can know for sure, other than presumably whatever the timeline is when she meets her husband and gets impregnated by him. Mm-hmm. That's presumably, at that point, at least hopefully a day after they broke up for the last time.
And now we get the scene mirroring the first scene where she's the star.
Right. So we see there's a different manager there now. That other girl's gone. The barista lady is looking at Emma the same way she looked at that star earlier. It's a really beautiful moment. And you can imagine that any one of those people on that highway had another day of sun, that any one of these, women in any cafe in this town have their own someone in the crowd. It's just a really kind of cool circle of life thing. Like, it could be anyone. What steps do you take to get there? We now see Gosling in his club. And we're like, oh, that's so cool. They're probably going to have dinner tonight after both having everything they want in this world.
Yeah.
And we see the guy who's signing the contract. At first, I'm like, is that his interracial marriage friend? No. Is that John Legend? No. Would have been a good opportunity to have either of them one last time. Legend just disappears from the film.
Dude.
Legend's just gone.
I'm guessing he moved on to his amazing career.
Yeah. So, we now have Emma Stone walking home. You see congrats envelopes. You're like, oh, is that for Gosling because he has his new club? Is that for her because of her new role? You don't really know. And then you get this heartbreaking reveal if you're most of the world. As that's not Gosling. What the? Why is she dating someone 20 years older? Looks like Diedrich Bader.
Was he in Air Force One?
Was he?
Oh, the London has fallen, Olympus has fallen?
Yeah.
They're doing Angel has Fallen next. And it is just...
About dead people falling?
No, it's literally just a remake of Air Force One.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's the third movie in this amazing trilogy of the Has Fallen trilogy, as I'll call it.
So now we see his more modest apartment. And it looks like he's making chicken Kievs or something. What is that?
Yeah, look at that. I don't know. Potato pancakes.
There's one last mention of the interracial couple. Does that woman know her kid's black? I think her husband's been cheating on her. Wait. That's not how that works on any level.
That's not how that happens.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That suit is just money right
We don't
there.
get the sense that Gosling is unhappy. We see him walking past her.
Yeah, he obviously knows her.
Right.
Like, he knows what she's up to. He doesn't care. He's doing his thing.
And we see her leaving her home. And at this point, you don't think they're going to build up. I mean, you hope they get reunited or something. But at this point, you just see these two people go through a day in their life at this point. You see these two go on a date. You see Gosling, walking into his
This looks like the beginning to a different movie.
It does. This looks like the beginning of a film about a woman that falls in love with a jazz musician while she was on a date with her husband.
Yeah, for real.
But what we're getting here, really, which is so profoundly brilliant, is the setup for the montage where they go through every bit of this activity.
This guy does look like Diedrich Bader.
Diedrich Bader, that's the sad thing, is when he was a kid and he did That Thing You Do, Tom Hanks, who directed that film, cast him because he looked like a young Tom Hanks.
Yeah?
Yeah, he used to look like Tom Hanks, but then Tom Hanks got old and fat Tom Hanksy, and then Tom Everett Scott became, I think it's Tom Everett Scott, because Rupert Everett, that's the gay dude from Inspector Gadget. Tom Everett Scott, I want to say is his name. He just grew up to look like Diedrich Bader, and if you're not as good as Diedrich Bader, you're not even going to get Bader roles. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
That's
weird.
That's a great dress on Emma, by the way.
Yeah.
Black. What would you call that? Silk? No. I don't know. I don't know dresses or materials or fashion.
Silkish.
Silkish.
I would say it's a fabric.
I don't know where this scene's shot, but I know it's not Burbank because you don't have to pay for parking there most places.
I know. That's the one
I love the blurred out
plus of
billboards in the
Burbank.
background. I don't think that's there in the theatrical version.
No, they probably didn't get clearances for the DVD Blu-rays.
So now we get one of the coolest reveals in this movie as she's walking down the stairs. And she gets taken aback by that neon sign saying Sebs. And she's realizing where she is.
I made that.
And
This place is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it was my place.
Much like Wilson, he's just setting himself up to be a total cuck. I've recently learned what that word means, and I'm obsessed with it.
Thank you, Trump.
I try to avoid the internet. So she walks into this club, and it's very similar to how she walked into J.K. Simmons' place earlier.
Look at that stool.
Well, we see that Gosling finally unpacked. All this stuff is unpacked in his club like he said it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this club, a wonderful mix of diversity. It looks kind of like... I think that's the same old Jewish guy in the same hat with his old white friend.
Probably he's a huge jazz fan.
They probably got the same extras. I don't know.
Nah, just a huge jazz fan.
A lot more diversity here. People of all colors.
Guy looks like Andy Warhol.
That's a black man in a fedora, Trev.
No, the guy behind her.
Oh.
Orville Redenbacher?
Yeah, a little bit of Andy Warhol. It might just be like Chazelle's dad or something. I don't know. That's where I'd give my dad a cameo if I could.
Oh, yeah, I'd put my dad.
So we get another great reveal of Gosling just on mic introducing his,
what up,
performers.
And then he's going to get the double take on her. Right? He notices her, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember if he notices her.
Oh, he just freezes. It's beautiful.
Does he?
When he's going to look to his right, there it is, and he just stops.
Oh, and his arm's still swinging just a little bit.
There's this look in his eyes.
He has such command over his body.
He's dreamy.
He's amazing. Like,
he's not... Oh, go ahead.
Physically, he is an amazing comedian. Or he's, I guess what you would call it, an actor? He's an amazing actor?
Actora?
Yeah, he's just fucking great. Like, I cannot say enough about how much I love Ryan Gosling and what he's become recently.
So, using music as a through line. Which there's only like 3 or 4 songs you just keep playing over and over again. Mia and Sebastian's theme. When he plays that over and over again, or when she hears it, it's literally something that transports them somewhere else.
Yes.
He gets transported to this whole other world, and then he gets fired from that first gig. When she hears it at the restaurant, it gets transported to the Rialto. When he plays it here, and this is the ultimate sign of compromise in the whole movie, they get transported to like a montage, essentially of home videos or whatever, reenacting their entire relationship, if things had gone differently.
Yeah, and if the other decision was made, what would happen?
But what it is, it's not a scene of regret to me. What this scene does, which I find so moving, I'm going to probably start tearing up in a second.
Yes.
Is that it's the ultimate act of compromise. This is him and her telling each other, he and her, I don't know, he and she telling each other. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of like the proper grammatic way to do that.
It's them telling each other.
It's them telling each other, we've made it to the other side because of you.
This is what happened.
And I'll remember it this way if you agree to. If you pretend, or if you remember it as me coming to your play, I'll pretend that everyone showed up.
See, at this moment, I thought the entire movie was a Jacob's Ladder situation.
Oh, yeah. Like, what if these two never...
Yeah, like, this was all inside of her
so you thought
head.
This was all literal?
Like, for a second, I thought that this moment where the lights come up, we were back the first time they meet in the theater when he just bumps her.
So now we get the trailer moment when they make out, and you're like, oh, that didn't happen at the beginning. You're like freaked out. You're like, oh, justice. Like, this is what should have happened all along, and this is the perfect relationship. Or maybe they don't, But the idea is, I'll agree to remember, that I wasn't a dick to you if you pretend like it was this beautiful romantic moment where everyone, like, rooted us on in our journey. As they start dancing out the door. I
kind of see it. I see it your way as well, but I also...
As it goes on, you'll see. As Simmons goes, here, open up.
But I also see it as, like, we're just going to look back fondly. Like,
such a good transition.
The truth doesn't need to be the truth because we're just looking back on memories.
I'll remember that I didn't sell out. Or we'll remember I didn't sell out if you, like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't see it as a compromise. I just see it as them just being happy for what has happened.
But this isn't regret. They're not ending
this.
No,
it's definitely not regret.
Look how everyone's wearing black except for him and his brown.
It's them looking fondly on what has happened.
That's the compromise.
Sharing.
He wasn't
compromise is not a good word.
But that is because the whole movie's about that. He's literally saying, I was, we'll pretend I was there if you pretend.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
They're just literally just sharing a moment. Like, this was our past.
But it wasn't.
I know, but that's memories. You don't remember everything exactly as it happens.
No, it's their conscious choice to remember things that way.
No.
That's what compromise is.
No, there's no compromise involved. It's just them sharing one last moment. And that's all that matters.
Who says this is one last moment?
It's one last moment.
They can be friends. She now knows where he works.
No, it's one last moment. She walks out because she's like, I cannot be around this guy because I am in love with this other man.
In this moment, it's not healthy to stay there because she'd start weeping and things would get weird. But when she calms down...
It's music.
And she might want to come back in and say, how you doing?
No, she will not do that.
The whole point of this movie is how they were friends first and foremost.
No.
They were the friends the other person needed at the moment. And because of that, they both have what they want. And at the end of this movie, they've refound each other. And they're reassuring each other everything's going to be okay. Even if it didn't happen this way, we're going to just pretend it was happily ever after. Because for all intents and purposes, it was. Like, here's the true reveal that, no, he didn't go with her to France or anything. Because it's part of that compromise. If everything else so far has not been what happened, then neither did this. But there's nothing officially saying, he didn't even try.
But still, I think you're looking too far into it. I don't think even the genius that is Damien went...
The genius that is Damien will be the name of his biopic.
We'll be like... This is compromise, this is compromise, this is compromise. No, it's just them seeing each other. They're enjoying
They explicitly talk about compromise throughout the film.
Yeah, but compromise is compromise. This is a moment.
The whole point of Whiplash was the lack of compromise. This movie is about being mature enough to do that.
I just don't like the word compromise.
Whiplash is about perfection, not compromising your vision, not letting anyone deter you.
This is just looking at the past romantically.
This is about appreciating something that you could have remembered in a negative connotation. Saying, oh, that's my ex. Ugh. Instead, they're choosing to remember each other positively. It's a choice.
No, it's not a choice.
They're literally choosing this.
It's just what people do.
This is a shared vision.
Your shared vision.
Yes, of my parents. I've done them proud.
No, that's an accident.
What's Popeye doing in this movie?
Oh, it's just a sailor man. Not Popeye the Sailor Man. His forearms are not big enough.
He's wearing sleeves. It's hard to tell.
You could see Popeye's sleeves through his sleeves.
It's easy for you to say.
Forearms.
We now get a recreation of them dancing in the stars, but this time it's
on a stage.
Well, like a ballroom floor type thing, right?
Yeah, stage.
Yeah.
It's on a black sound stage.
Sure. But the idea is it's the same thing, but this time less fantastical. It's so weird. Like everything's just the opposite of what it was. Like their dance is more real this time. But you actually see they can dance. Because in the silhouette version, it almost looks like a body double for Gosling. I don't know if it is or not. It just, his head looked different to me.
Nah, he's still dreamy.
He's always dreamy. He's Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
We gotta do a Nice Guys episode and just about Shane Black in general.
We should. I just want to watch Nice Guys again.
We're gonna watch so many movies, you guys. It's gonna be so good.
You're really Nice Guys.
And look at that, almost like the opening of the film. And they sit down to watch the fake home movie that does not exist. Of the two of them raising a family together for some reason. This is where things go a little too far, I think. But she's literally, that was such a primary color shot again. Blue overalls, yellow shirt, red paint.
This kind of reminds me of Suicide Squad. Where Harley Quinn wants the Joker to be a normal person.
I think there's like a Resident Evil or an Underworld movie or something that also opens like a fake fantasy of what it could have been.
Well, that's
like a trailer.
That's different because it's like actually like implanted in her head to dream that way.
Total Recall version?
Yeah. Because she's like genetically modified. That's that entire lore of the whatever. So
now we cut away from the home movie and we show a different babysitter, different kid. Mm-hmm. The two of them walking out of the same house, weirdly enough.
Well, yeah.
In the same car, driving up the same road.
Los Angeles real estate's tough.
And you're like, are they about to walk in that club and just see someone else own it? Like, what is going on? She's in the same dress. Is he in a different suit than he was wearing in the...
Yeah, he was wearing a brown suit in the real world. At least he was when he walked into the club. I don't know if on stage he's wearing the same suit. Either way, both suits are very money.
Yeah. Oh, Gosling just... In 2016, between this and Nice Guys, just every suit he wore.
Oh, he is wearing... Oh, that's not him.
Else. He's sitting in the crowd with her.
Yeah, I thought that was...
Yeah, for this really beautiful transitionary shot of just rotating one last time around the room of their fantasy world.
And everyone is so engaged.
You might even call it their La La Land.
Ooh.
Oh. You see him, she's holding him so differently than she was holding her husband in that last shot.
Andy Warhol's not there. Instead, we got skinny Hannibal Buress.
But you see, it's such a different intimacy that she had with him, a more romanticized one. And when he stops performing in his brown suit, she's not holding on to her husband that same way, kissing him. That's me sneezing. You see that they're just distant. Like, she married him for function, possibly. Like, you can draw your own conclusion. Did she love this guy?
No, she loves him.
Or did she just like him a lot?
No, she loves him. She's in shock because she didn't expect to see this guy.
She is. But, sometimes when I see my exes in public, I just, I jump right on the nearest girl, and I need to make sure everyone knows that I've moved on. That's how you prove it.
Oh, so stupid.
Now, of course, I'll do that. I'll jump on a girl and claim that's my ex over there. Just have an excuse to jump on someone, but...
I believe that's maybe a crime.
Yeah, manipulative at the very least. But, So now we get the moment where they look back at each other and they nod and they let each other know everything's going to be fine. Oh, classic Hollywood. I also want to speak over it, but you kind of have to because it's a commentary track.
I had the time of my life.
And they owe it all to each other. As he slowly creeps into that smile. He's letting her know it's okay to smile, and she's smiling too.
What if this movie just ended on like a horrible 90s jam?
It'd be great. What if he just waved goodbye cheesily?
Just like a two-finger salute?
That'd be ridiculously bad. Chazelle's better than that. So, you get that moment.
The knowing head shake.
And the funny thing is, she's not leaving his life. He still has to stare at that billboard every day.
Well, yeah, but...
He has that constant reminder of what she's done to him. And by the way, she now likes jazz and has a husband who likes jazz.
Yeah.
So...
Obviously, there has to be some correlation between the
end.
The classic, the end fucking cut thing.
Title card, end card. So now we get the cursive fonts.
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk after the credits end of this podcast. If you've listened to the other ones, then you'd know. Since Jordan Hurwitz's name just popped up as producer, I just want to say, I got to meet him after Q&A for La La Land here in Hollywood. And the dude could not have been more, genial, nice guy. Really, just, if you asked him a question, he would talk, just really, just a cool dude. And you can tell he's a great producer. During that Oscars fiasco. When the mix-up happened with Warren Beatty and Fade Down Away.
Yes.
And he comes out, and sure, he kind of went into his speech and made it about himself in some ways.
Yeah.
But he was respectful, and he did calm people down. And he did say that whole bit about, I for one, can't wait to give this award to the good people at Moonlight.
Yes.
And that's what I'm ultimately going to remember, because it could have been a very disastrous, I earned this is my award. And he just handled it. A problem arose, and he took care of business.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's awesome.
It really is.
I'm still the hottest producer in Hollywood, I would imagine.
I think right now it's the right time to just say we've been watching Moonlight this entire time.
Yeah. It'd be amazing.
If we really did.
Finn Whitrock. That's the tad-looking motherfucker. That guy who's in... I just had his name popped up. And it's Tom Everett Scott. I feel so smart.
Yeah.
I know names of people that don't matter. I shouldn't say that. Tom Everett Scott was a piece of my childhood.
Yeah, he probably matters a bit.
The point is, Jordan Hurwitz, excellent producer, cool dude in person to deal with. I'd love to work with that guy someday, but surely anyone in this town would right now. I want to work with Chazelle. I want to work with Gosling. I really want to work with Emma Stone.
I just want to be a part of Blade Runner 2072 or whatever.
The sequel to Blade Runner 2049?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're just going to choose another random number, right?
Yeah, that's how that works. I'm just glad you didn't say the dumb joke of,
Bart
I'm so
Lipton.
mad I missed the 48 in between, or the 2048 of them in between.
Well, what year was the original one?
I don't know, 85 maybe?
Well, but like, was
When did
there
it
a
take
future
place?
year? Yeah.
I don't remember.
I mean, obviously this one's in like 2049.
Carlo, writer with the Good World Building, Jason fucks.
Fuchs, but yeah. It's
I
Fuchs.
think he fucks. If we've ever watched Silicon Valley,
In high
that
school,
guy fucks.
In high school, I used to have this substitute teacher whose name was Mrs. Fuchs, and obviously we've made that joke throughout my entire childhood, being in a very small school. So that joke is hack as hell.
Wow.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm just looking at some of the cool names. Daniel Gaiman, Aaron Deuce Cook, Nathan Prevost.
Domingo.
I'm going to say some of these names because they're never going to be said out loud in
Dominique
context.
Domingo. I like
How
that
about
name.
you, Damien Beauregardin, epilogue dancer, stunt coordinator Mark Kuber. You're missing some vowels there, Kuber.
Emily Goldblum.
Don't be anti-Semitic again. I'm so tired of that. Executive producers of what? Wait, John Legend. What is he?
John
executive
Legend
producer?
and Michael Jackson?
That's not the Michael Jackson, I don't think.
Well, no. Obviously, he would never go by Mike Jackson. Ugh.
Cassidy Shipley.
Stephen Lydor.
Lynn Matsuda Norton.
Gary Barbosa. He's a pirate.
Ari Robbins, SOC. Melissa Fisher. Hard name to say out loud 5 times in a row. Say it.
Melissa Fisher.
All right. Point is, La La Land's a brilliant movie. A film about coming of age, of closure, of compromise.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie about true friendship. How friendship is simply being there for another, is listening to another. It's a movie about the people that get you to where you end up being and appreciating them for the role they played in your life.
Joe Kisak Folsom.
And yes, there's a few good musical numbers in between, and there is a brief romance in between.
Yes.
And it's a profound movie.
It's a movie about the speed bumps you hit on your way to greatness. That's what I see it as.
Or setting up the ladder to climb that mountain.
Yeah, you know.
Ways.
I always see
someone spotting you.
I always see X's as, blocks to get where I'm going, so
I view each one of Wilson's X's as like a whack-a-mole player. Just constantly hammering him lower and lower into the ground.
But I keep popping up every time someone puts a quarter in me.
I've popped a few quarters up, Wilson, just to see what happens. Usually he sings a sad tune.
Ugh.
But we should probably start wrapping it up.
Yeah,
our next episode will most likely be
Eugenio
Derbez. Directorial feature. Oh my gosh, what's the name of the movie?
Instructions not included.
No, the real name. Returns not accepted. Released in
Spanish.
English, right? But released in English in America at least as instructions not included.
Yes.
We're gonna watch that dramedy while talking a little bit about his follow-up effort, How to Be a Latin Lover. The film, both of those films, honestly, kind of have middling Rotten Tomatoes scores. It's a very different type of humor, very different type of sensibility. But we are both huge fans, and we want to kind of spread some love.
I love this man.
To the guy that's very openly drawing his own comparisons to Charlie Chaplin. It's a tall order for sure, but we kind of dig him.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him next week.
I love Eugenio Derbez.
We'll probably just call him Eugene Derbies, just to make it easier.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say Eugenio.
Eugenio. I think that's how you pronounce it. My Spanish is a little rusty.
Eugenio.
All
right, but we're wrapping this up.
We're trying
next
to pace
week.
it to hit the end of the credits exactly, because that'd be fun.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
That's what I'm doing.
Oh, I'm not doing none of that.
Well, I'll just keep talking. Wilson, you can go put your...
We got featured piano by Randy Gerber.
Are you... by the way, speaking of piano, I showed Wilson a song by Randy Newman called
Hurry up.
Short People. And you have to listen to that if you've never heard it before, or watch the video. It's a great song.
I never knew Randy Newman had this horribly phobic song against short people.
Randy Newman, a hero to...
Short phobic?
Average and tall men everywhere.
Yeah.
Worth doing if you're going to do any homework after watching this film, or listening to this film commentary. Please go listen to the best of Randy Newman, especially Short People.
Short People and I Love L.A. Two best Randy Newman songs ever.
And You've Got a Friend in Me.
No, ever.
So as the filmmakers wish to thank Bruce Davison of all people, I didn't even notice
number
that.
one right there.
He's the top. Thank you. That's cool.
We got a couple.
Younger.
We got like 3 burgers.
And some Chazelles. I just want to say thank you all for joining us this week. Tune in next week for Wilson T. Cuck, dog-kicking neo-Nazi.
No, do not end on that.
I am Max... Okay, go ahead.
I'm Wilson T. Kirk. This is...
Well, I'm Max Zell.
And I'm Wilson T. Kirk.
And this was Watchin. We watched...